Live from Deathray Studios in the sunny West Valley of Phoenix, it's Late Night with the Davey. Appearing on tonight's show, YouTube content creator Lee McCoy from DRUMDUMS. And now, ladies and gentlemen, your host, Davey Deathray. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Davey Deathray here, and welcome to another edition of Late Night with the Davey. Holy crap, everybody. This is the 24th episode. We're almost at that half-year mark. That's really exciting. Can't believe we've done that many shows, and this one is a carryover from spooky season. So this was going to be on Halloween Eve, but we pushed it to today. I'm interested in knowing what you guys think about Friday night for Late Night with the Davey. Maybe some of you wake up really early for work and it would be easier for you to, attend a Friday night show. I know there's a lot going on YouTube, but let me know in the chat and let me know in the comments down below. Really appreciate everybody for jumping on in, and man, the chat is just popping off already. We have a good number of people hanging out with us here on the stream, so thank you so much. And if you're watching after the fact, really appreciate that as well. Make sure you hit that like and drop a comment. That really helps the live keep on living after we sign off for the evening. So I really appreciate that. Shout out to all the Patreon members and the channel members as well, and of course all the subscribers. You guys are amazing. I'm going to be giving away 10 memberships tonight, so don't let me forget. Somebody hold me accountable in the chat if I start forgetting. So we'll do like 5 before we bring Lee on, and then we'll do 5 maybe about midway through or something. So just want to say what's up to everybody out there in the chat. We got Antonis Andriotis. How you doing, Antonis? Great to see you, bud. We got Lamontre Gillard. How you doing, Lamontre? Raymond Malaber, one of our great channel members, as well as Paula Fitzhenry, another channel member there. So nice to see you, Paula. And we got Shay Rants from all the way across the pond in the UK. How are you doing, Shay? Hope you had a great week. We've got Ashton Luck, one of our great channel members. How you doing, man? Great to see you. Oh, and look at that. Lee's already popping into the chat. Well, hopefully this one is Lee and not one of those impersonators that we saw last week. So, Death Squad mods, be on the lookout. We got Gory Tiger. How you doing, Gory? So great to see you. We got Thanos in the chat. How you doing, Thanos? So good to see you as well. We got Zachary Andriotis. Is this Zachary? Are you Antonis's brother? Interesting. Same last name, so I just got to ask. We got Gene Whitcomb. How you doing, Gene? So awesome to see you. We got Leanna. Always a pleasure, Leanna, one of our great channel members there hanging out with us. We got Miss 80s Movies and Music. How are you doing tonight, Miss 80s? I love the 80s movies and music, so you picked a good channel to jump on into and hang out tonight. Really appreciate that. Let's see here. Who else do we have? Just want to make sure I'm not missing anyone. We got Dave Vanderhoff. How you doing, Dave? And I think you've got one of those phantasm balls that might come up here a little bit later on, Dave. Keep your eyes out. We got Ryan Olishow. How you doing, Ryan? So good to see you. Necro Mechanimal. Love you, Necro. Guys, if you don't know, every time I do like Davey Science Theater 3000, and then even sometimes some of the thumbnails that I use here on the YouTube channel are created by Necro. So if you guys aren't following Necro over on Insta, you should go give him a follow over there. He makes great stuff. And we got Big Rod, one of our great channel members. How you doing, Big Rod? Love to see you. Let's see here. We got D.A. Mac, another channel member. How you doing, D.A.? Hope you had a great week and an awesome Halloween. In fact, gosh, I'm sort of remiss there. I hope you all had a very happy, fun, and safe Halloween. We got Heroic Waffles. Yes, these waffles are heroic. And we got another channel member, Allie Girl. Allie, so great to see you. How are your stars doing? Let me know. I try to keep track of the NHL, but during football season, it's like that takes so much of my stupid sports concentration. Great to see you. Thanks for hanging out. Allie, would you like late night with the Davey on Fridays? So that way you can not worry about having to go to bed. So it will at least get up so early for work. Let me know. Let me know. Let's see here. Who else do we got? We've got Eli Cortez, one of our great channel members, and Death Squad mods, and an awesome community member. Guys, Eli keeps on sending me really, really cool shit. Yesterday through Amazon, he sent me the full Twilight Zone original run collection on DVD. The Twilight Zone is one of my favorite shows of all time. So I love that kind of storytelling. Yeah, really awesome show. Not, little twists and turns here and there, but also those tales of morality that I really, really dig. Not every single story is like a horror story, but most of them kind of are. So really appreciate that, Eli. And no worries, man. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Hopefully we can catch up soon. We got Ryan Swayze. How you doing, Ryan? So great to see you. The original Death Squad mod, Jamie Hart, is in the chat, ladies and gentlemen. So step aside. How you doing, Jamie? So good to see you. Adrian James, how you doing, sir? I am doing well. I am pumped for tonight's show, of course. Hope you had a great week as well. Let's see here. I think we may be all caught up. Are we all caught up? We got Prince hanging out in the chat. Late night after Davey Ween. That's right. And I might be moving it to Fridays from here on out, folks. It might make things a little bit easier. I don't know. Let me know in the chat. Let me know in the comments. All that kind of fun, dorky stuff, of course. You guys are amazing. Yes, I hope you had an awesome Halloween. We kept it pretty chill here. Thursday night football muted in the main room. John Carpenter pumping on the record player, of course. I dressed up as Michael. I wore my curse mask this time around. Usually I swap around. I have like 6 or 7 masks and I wear like all of them throughout the night. I was just feeling the curse mask. I don't know. I'm a big fan of that damn mask. And I know that movie's an absolute friggin' mess, but every time I watch it, I still love it. I don't know what it is. It's probably Donald Pleasance and the mask, honestly. Just those two things really work for me. Scared some kids so bad they ran away and had to come back. So, that's always fun. I'll take that. Let's see here. Jamie says she prefers Wednesdays because no one else streams that night. Yeah, that's why I originally picked it. So yeah, maybe I'll just throw a little poll out there and see what you guys think. All right, everyone. Yeah, we are here about a quarter after the hour. Rolling out the red carpet for this guest. I've been watching Lee probably since, I don't know, 2015, 2016, maybe even before that. I became a huge YouTube fan through the Angry Video Game Nerd, probably like 06, 07, something like that. And it was one of those things where I always enjoyed the entertainment on YouTube, but really until I started watching Lee and until I started watching Barry from Wolfman's Got Nards, like that's when I really caught the bug as far as like, wow, YouTube's becoming my favorite platform for anything. Like I'm not even watching TV shows and movies anymore. I'm just jumping on YouTube and being entertained by people that are so articulate. They're into the same kind of stuff that I'm into, but they're also regular people. There was something really attractive about that aspect of the platform. So, Lee is somebody that I've been watching for years. And, been one of the biggest inspirations to, me starting this channel. I know it took for friggin' ever, but, fear of failure will keep you from doing a great many things. So, yeah, guys, without any further ado, I'm going to bring on Lee McCoy from DRUMDUMS. How you doing? Yeah.
That was quite an introduction. Thank you so much. When I have my waffles, I like them to be heroic. So
yes, yeah, not anti-heroic. You don't want them to be like Punisher waffles or anything like that.
No, I want them full on 4 on the floor heroic, over a cliff.
Yeah. There you go. Hell yeah.
Hey, I put on a nice shirt too for the late night.
I see. Yeah, I'm like, you got your polo shirt on. Looks like you're about to go play a round of golf or something. That's great. Yeah, I don't know why. I was like, I'll wear the suit jacket, all that kind of fun stuff. But I live in a very hot area, kind of like you, a different kind of hot, but holy crap, doing that all throughout the summer, kicking on that AC. Jeez. and just sweating bullets because I'm a sweaty and nervous guy anyways, Lee. So we'll see how I do tonight.
I sweat
now,
too, though. I do. So
yeah, you know, it happens to the best of us for sure.
it does. It does.
Necro, I did not forget the membership giveaway. I'm going to do it right now as I ask Lee. You know, Lee, of course, we'll jump into, you know, 1988 and horror and everything. I'm really looking forward to talking about that with you. But how did your spooky season go? And, you know, how's everything going with the channel as of late?
Good, good. I heard you talking about getting dressed up in the curse mask is my go-to mask too. And I have quite a few masks over here, but I always put on the curse mask when I go out. I used to go out like every year, but last night I literally had the coveralls out and I had the mask out and I was ready to go. And I look out the window, there's nobody outside. I was like, holy shit, there's like nobody freaking doing any trick or treating. It's like they do it in a small little window, and then like as soon as it starts getting dark in my neighborhood, they stop doing it. So I didn't get the chance to do it.
When it gets dark.
Yeah, and that's kind of a first for me because every other place I've lived, it seems like people are trick or treating, you know, into the night. But I don't know if that's a curfew thing or what's going on. But it kind of bummed me out, you know. So, but yeah, I watched some scary movies last night, and you know, walked through in the original Halloween like I always do. And I like. Now, let me ask you a question. The version I watch, and you might have saw my post on Instagram, but I always on the 31st. Yeah, I do the 4K throughout the year and stuff like that. But on the 31st, it's got to be the 2000 THX DVD edition because the color timing is unlike any other. It's just like the perfect levels of sunlight with the blue darkness. Everything that Damian Maffei would be jealous of. Okay. And it's amazing.
Yeah. I remember that was like probably the first one that I owned way back in the day. And I must have lost it at some point. I've got the Shout Factory Blu-ray set. So I don't even have the original on 4K or anything. Honestly, I've got a 4K TV. I don't have a 4K player yet. I've got a bunch of 4Ks, but I'm just sort of sitting on them until I make that jump. Because, you know, sometimes even like Blu-ray for me, when they do the transfers, if they don't do it the right way, it can sort of spoil some of the effects. And, you know, there's certain things there that you have to like really have a nice touch with. You know, I really like the Jaws Blu-ray because they did like color correction on the sky and the water. Like those sorts of things I'm totally into. But I don't want to see a bunch of strings, or not that Halloween would have anything like that. But I remember that cut. You had the one with the hologram on it. I remember that.
Yeah, it was a 2-disc edition, and and it was like 30,000 of them were made. I think it's got a number on the back of it and everything. But the second disc is the TV cut.
Yeah.
And for the longest time, that was kind of the only way you could get the TV cut until it became more accessible. But yeah, and you're talking about like not having a 4K player in this day and age. You don't even really have to if you do digital and physical, which I do. I think we all do, even the ones that don't want to admit it. You gotta watch digital from time to time. It's just easy. And sometimes when I don't have the 4K and I'm really in the mood to watch a 4K version of a movie, especially a newer movie, I'll see if it's on digital. And if I might have it on Prime because I'm a Prime member. And hey, that's the 4K version. I might as well stream that. So I don't discriminate on either side.
Yeah. And I think that's the important thing is like, I think, you know, when it comes to physical versus digital, it's like there's room for all. It's nice to have those things physically just in case, or, you know, maybe you take a trip somewhere and you just want to like have that copy with you, you know, bring that digital copy on your computer or whatever, you know. I think that's totally fair there.
There's a mood for everything.
Exactly.
You could be in a VHS mood. Sometimes, like in my studio here, I have Jolene, my big TV with the VCR next to it. And sometimes I'll be like, hey, I feel like I want to watch Cobra on VHS, and I'll just come in here and sit down and watch Cobra on VHS. And it's cool.
The perfect movie to watch on VHS.
Oh yeah,
you know? It just really puts you in that spot. Yeah. So I did gift those 5 memberships. I just want to shout those folks out. So Jordan Decker, Lil Boozy Bert, D Harp 666, Solvents, and Cody were gifted memberships. So congratulations, everyone. And I love this right here. Foz Rotten shouting out one of our favorites there, Megadeth, with a little sweating bullets.
Great
Good
freaking
old-
album, by the way. Countdown
my
to
gosh.
Extinction. Holy
It's
crap.
incredible. It's incredible. Some say it was like too slick or whatever. I don't know. I would put that up against the Black Album any day of the week as far as like a more like poppy metal record. I think it's way better, but whatever. I'm a Megadeth guy.
Well, I mean, Dave Mustaine wanted that album to be number one so bad because he wanted to, you can't beat the Black Album, but if I can at least make it number one, and it went to number two. It got beat by, I want to say it got beat by Whitney Houston. I can't remember, but
jeez,
it broke his heart, because it's such a great album. It really is.
Yeah. Megadeth is like the Beach Boys to Metallica's Beatles. There was like that competition.
That's the perfect comparison.
The competition and then the depression that goes along with not being able to like rise to that, even though, I think once the legacy is all said and done with bands like the Beach Boys and Beatles, like they're pretty neck and neck. And I would say, even though Metallica has the album sales, all that kind of crap, like I do think Megadeth has better quality songs, and I'll take that to the grave for sure.
No, I'm right there with you. I honestly, I'm right there with you. I've always been more of a Megadeth guy, and I think Metallica, and this might be controversial, but after And Justice for All, I got to give credit to the Black Album, but my Metallica is And Justice for All and back. That's like today. Matter of fact, funny enough, today I watched the Grammy Awards when they performed One in 1989 on the Grammy Awards. And there's a moment like you can tell James is a little nervous at the beginning of it. And then as soon as he does the darkness, he like looks at the camera and kind of like, okay, it's fucking on. And they just like rip. And I think that was kind of the peak right there.
Yeah, and that was, I think, was that the first year they had like a heavy metal category? I think I just watched that the other week. It was like, is it Billy Crystal that introduces them?
Yep, that's it. Maybe that's kind of catching the algorithm right now or something because, and they lost to Jethro Tull.
That is crazy.
Sad.
Really how does Jethro Tull get a heavy metal nomination?
Yeah, nothing against Jethro Tull, but it's a completely different sandbox,
Yeah, exactly. We got Damien Maffei hanging out in the chat. How are you doing, Damien? So great to see you, man. But Lee McCoy made me take a Blu-ray of his and Kristen in a pool once. True story. There it is. Damien. All right. Yeah, hell yeah. Let's see here. Thank you so much. Appreciate the reminder there, Jamie. Yeah, hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't yet. I'd imagine there's a whole bunch of new people hanging out in the chat. Really appreciate, everyone that's a subscriber of Lee's that's given us a chance tonight. That's awesome. If you're new to Lee, what the heck are you doing? Get on over there. Subscribe now. I've got links in the description below so you can follow his main channel as well as his second channel, DRUMDUMS Extra. And got some other social links in there as well, Lee. So any of the folks that are late to the game can hop on. There's an incredible amount of content over there.
We have snacks. Yeah. You're welcome.
We have punch and pie.
We do, yeah.
Oh, there you go. It was Pray at Night Pool, his copy of Pray at Night. The peanut brittle like George McFly, just sifting
I always
through.
think of George McFly when I pass peanut brittle in the Dollar Tree. It's
at the dinner table, like, aren't they in the middle of dinner?
Why do you got a bowl of peanut brittle and
it's watching Jackie Gleason? Yeah. Lorraine's just like hanging out with the bottle of vodka. Oh man,
I know she's done.
Kind of
she quit a few years ago.
It's a grim beginning for Marty. No one talks about the grim beginning. It's almost like one of the families in A Nightmare on Elm Street, because it seems like all the kids in those movies have like severely like neglective alcoholic parents. And the dirtiest walls. Exactly, yeah. And the dirty walls in A Nightmare on Elm Street really cracked me up. So yeah, we're here to talk about horror from 1988. I know we missed the 35th anniversary. It's 36 years away. But when I looked at this list of movies, And I know that you've talked about many of them over on your channel, Lee. I was like, this is an incredible year for horror, and like a whole, you know, some really kind of all over the place, similar to what we've gotten. Like 2024 has been pretty wild with horror. Like it seems like we've gotten a little something for everybody. And I think 1988 had that as well. So I wanted to, you know, pick your brain or just sort of share some memories about a handful of these. I did put a poll there in the chat as well, guys. What's your favorite horror sequel of 1988? So there's a few choices in there for you. Halloween 4 is destroying this poll. Out of 34 votes, 53% of people have voted for Halloween 4. I'm guessing that that's where you might put your money as well. I know you're a massive fan of the return of Michael Myers, Lee.
Yeah, I think it's almost when you have so many big movies in one year, but Halloween 4 holds such a maybe it's so personal to me that it's hard to rank it because it's automatically going to go number one. But it's a great fucking movie too. It really is.
What was it, the first one that you saw in the theater?
Yep. And I tell you, I remember, and I think a lot of younger people don't realize this, but before Halloween 4, the last time we got Michael Myers was 81. So this is a 7-year gap, and he was almost forgotten at the time. And I remember the first time I even knew that Myers was coming back was a TV spot. I don't know what I was doing. I was sitting in my room, probably watching MTV or something like that. I was 15. And I remember seeing this TV spot, you know, and that very distinct piano sound at the beginning of how ding, 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 ding. Halloween 4 has just such a unique sound to the piano like no other in the franchise. But 10 years ago, you know, they do the whole thing, and then and as soon as I heard Michael Myers is back, it was like subconsciously he was always embedded in me, but I never released him because I didn't know to release him. And when that TV spot came about, it's just like a ghost came out of me, like almost Michael Myers' ghost just came out of me and said, you didn't even know how bad you wanted this, but you fucking want it. And I wanted it more than anything. And man, when I saw that movie in the theater, packed freaking crowd. I guess everybody else had Michael Myers' ghost in them too, because everybody was so excited. This was the return of Michael Myers. It really was a big deal. And the movie was that great to boot. You know, wouldn't it have sucked if the movie came out and it was just like a big dud? But it was just the opposite of that.
Yeah, it feels to me, I think, you know, Halloween 4 in a big way sort of feels like a soft reboot, you know, in a sense.
It does.
It's very reminiscent of the original. You know, they do have some of that blue light and all that kind of fun stuff. I mean, you know, I'm not the biggest fan of the mask here, but I do think it looks really good in some of the shots, especially in the Meeker house. Like most of the time in the Meeker house, it looks great. Just when it's like very bright, it sort of seems a little flimsy. It doesn't seem to have the definition like the original one did. But yeah, this movie is really damn good. And especially coming along at like almost like the apex of the slasher craze, because like right after this one, everyone started kind of falling off, you know,
it was like,
it was sort of like after 88. I mean, even the Friday the 13th movie that came out in 88, we'll probably talk about that a little bit. You know, that one has its fun elements, but it was already, you know, the legs are getting cut out from under it in the New Blood. And then Freddy after 88 was just like completely falling off, you know? And the less said about Halloween 5, the better, probably.
Well, the thing about Halloween 4 is that they wanted to really keep it serious. And I think a lot, even serious franchises like, say, Nightmare on Elm Street, by the time they get to the 4th movie, they might want to go a more comedic route just to try to change things up. But they did the opposite of that. And they said, hey, let's make this even like the most serious Halloween movie to really just ground everything and make Myers completely terrifying. And also sprinkle in some of the best characters, you know, sans Laurie Strode, that I think the franchise has ever had. And I still think Halloween 4 has pound for pound, probably the best characters that you really care about. There's like a little love triangle that works, but it doesn't
Yeah.
like overpower the movie. But it's
Mhm.
just strong enough to where you care about Brady, you care about Rachel and Jamie. And by
Mhm.
the time it all comes to a head, and you're so freaking terrified of Myers. He's on that roof and he's just coming after Rachel. And
Yeah.
I remember everybody's just like screaming at the screen. They wanted her to survive so bad. It wasn't a situation where you're like, please kill them. No, it was
Yeah.
like, please survive. And by the time they were done and they're sitting on the couch at the end, it's like everybody's taking a breath. Even the audience is taking a breath with Rachel. And then, nope,
Yeah.
it's not over. The movie never lets up until the credits roll. And then you're just got a chill down your spine. And honestly, I don't think
Yeah.
Halloween's done that to that extent since.
Yeah, I mean, probably the best ending in the franchise outside of the original. I mean, I love the original ending. It's great,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
kind of leaving you hanging there.
Mhm.
And also, like at the same time, it's like it's one of the best endings, but it's also maybe one of the reasons why it was really tough to pick up the pieces from there because, like, where do you
Yeah.
go? It's almost like a question that you don't want answered as far as, what happens to Jamie, because then they sort of paint themselves in that spot where it's like, okay, what do we do after this? But yeah, I mean, I totally agree with you that it's like even in this MTV age, they don't, the characters aren't like overly like boisterous and loud or annoying or
Mhm.
anything like that. Like they are pretty much immediately in the next film. They sort of start acting like characters from Friday the 13th or A Nightmare
Yeah.
on Elm Street. And this one still has that feel of the original. And even just seeing, pictures of Jamie Lee Curtis as Laurie Strode and everything, like just seeing those pictures from the little pencil box or whatever. I think that's that connective tissue, that makes
Mhm.
you feel like you really are watching something that's connected to the original, even if Laurie isn't there. And man, I mean, Donald Pleasance in Halloween
Yeah.
4, maybe the best performance he has in the entire
Guns
series.
blazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's timeless. The movie feels timeless. It doesn't, like you said, it doesn't try to latch on to any, neon colored, that whole late 80s vibe. It
Mhm.
doesn't really do that. It's just like, let's tell a really good, scary story. And you could put Halloween 4 out really any year, any decade,
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
it wouldn't feel overly dated.
Yeah.
It's just kind of timeless.
Yeah, no, there's even like no nudity, like all the other films would have gone for
Yeah.
that. There's really not much blood. I'm trying to think, like, other than like the neck tear in the truck, and that's like pretty much right at the end of the movie, you get one of the more like shocking, at least graphically shocking kills
Yeah.
right there in the film.
You get the thumb in
Um,
the forehead.
oh yeah, the thumb in the forehead is great. That is awesome.
Classic. I mean, they probably spent 50 cents to shoot that, and it's just one of the best kills, you know?
Yeah, because it's just this fake hand with a retractable thumb or something. It's amazing.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
just movie magic, true movie magic.
Yep.
And I love the orderly at the hospital, like giving them the whole story as they walk down the hall. It's like the perfect way to get your exposition out of the way and catch up
Mhm.
everybody since it's been a good 7 years since that last one. And yeah, I mean, I would imagine seeing this in the theater at 15 or 16 years old must have been pretty wild. And you got to be feeling pretty good about Halloween, moving forward from there. This was like kind of like the first like legacy sequel in a way.
It was life-changing for me, and I know that's a crazy phrase to put towards a movie, but
Hmm.
there was me before Halloween 4, and then there was me after Halloween 4, and that me was obsessed. I mean, like, literally obsessed with the franchise, and I couldn't wait until the next chapter, and, uh, I could never go back. Like, would I be the Halloween fan I am today if Halloween 4 wouldn't have connected with me like that, you know?
Yeah.
It's
But
weird because it's like every movie I saw of Halloween after Halloween 4 was kind of the baseline, the scale,
mhm.
that I compared it to. Not the
Yeah.
first movie. It was 4. That was like the introduction to me that made me completely just obsessed with the movie. So,
So
I
you
sometimes I
were
wonder if like Dwight Little, if um you were talking about that the ending with Jamie,
mhm.
I don't think he planned on even doing 5. So I
Yeah.
think sometimes directors, they'll have this thing. Let's give them the freaking greatest knock your balls off ending
Yeah.
imaginable because I can wipe my hands of it and it's somebody else's responsibility after. But what it does is it puts this huge responsibility on the next guy. And maybe that's
Hmm.
part of the reason why 5 is kind of messed up, you know?
Yeah, and maybe, hiring somebody that doesn't seem to have like a firm grasp of like, the language that the film is in and all of those
Yeah.
things are probably pretty important too. I think, yeah, that's one of the weirdest. Every time I, watch the behind the scenes or whatever on part 5, because I'm a weird like rewatching kind of fan. Like, even though I don't
Mhm.
enjoy 5 very much, I still watch it every year. I'll put on like a commentary. I think
Yeah.
Danielle and what's her face? I'm totally
Ella Cornell?
yeah, Ellie Cornell. They have a
Yeah.
commentary on that one. I think
Yep.
they've got one on that one. And it seems I'm like, did Deborah Hill have some sort of like infatuation with this guy? Did they have some sort of relationship? Because she really pushed this guy as like he can do this. And I feel like that's where the root of the problem is
Mhm.
Dominique Othen and Gerard
Yeah.
directing Halloween 5 is like that's the big thing. Yeah, and I know Dwight didn't want to come back because he was basically like, I just did the friggin' impossible,
Yeah.
like I got really close to John Carpenter's original and I don't want to try to do that again, and I can certainly respect that because even though Halloween 4 lands kind of, I think it's like right in the middle of my ranking.
Mhm.
um it I still really enjoy it and it is one of the fan favorites. I would
Yeah.
say
Sure.
most people would say either Halloween 2 or Halloween 4 is like their second favorite in the franchise. Maybe now, you do see people say in 2018 or even H2O, shout out to Barry from Wolfman's Got Nards.
Yeah.
The
God bless.
people that say H2O is the second best in the franchise are on a really fun island with like 5 people.
Yeah.
5 people and a bunch of shitty masks just all over the beach.
Well, he even admitted to me when I was on a stream with him a couple of weeks ago, and he said, as much as I love H2O, I understand why people don't really have it because it,
Yeah.
it feels so far removed in tone from the
Hmm.
rest of the franchise. So at least he can acknowledge that, just like I
Yes.
acknowledge, because that episode we were talking about Curse, and as much as I love Curse, I can't deny the problems that that movie has, but
Yeah.
the movie's like a freaking warm blanket to me. I can't get
Yep.
enough of it. So
Hmm.
I think
Yeah, and
all
I
the
think that's
all the fran oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think that's the most important thing, right? Is just having that good, just having that sort of sobering knowledge of, that even if you love something, it's still okay to criticize the things that don't really work. And we
Mhm.
live in this day and age where it's like, no, if you like it, you love everything about it, and it's absolutely perfect and infallible. We do that with like politicians and music and movies and just whatever in our lives. It's kind of crazy
Mhm.
where it's like, man, I think we just need a little more nuance, like all around. Yeah, so I think it's good to have that sort of reminder.
Yeah.
And yeah, Barry's a total sweetheart. I love the guy. We've gone back and forth about H2O as well, and
He takes
I
a lot
still
of shit for H2O. He does.
I'm sure he does. And you know what, man, the first act of that movie, like the first third of it, is off to such a great start. And I feel
Mhm.
like it just sort of like, the wheels start wobbling
Yeah.
off after that point. But I still think there's some really effective moments in there. And I mean, that was the first Halloween that I saw in the theater. So that was
Yeah.
sort of like my Halloween for, whereas like you're having Jamie Lee come back after all this time. I was one of those kids that rented the movies on VHS when I was like really little, like all of the other ones.
Yeah.
So to me, it was like a renaissance, and a party in the theater. And of course, I loved it absolutely. And then you watch it years later, and you're like, wait, why is the mask different in every other shot? What's going on?
Yeah, to
um,
the movie's credit, I don't think there's any 2 movies in the franchise that are like 2 alike. Kind of
yeah.
like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, where you got the remake in the beginning. Those 2 movies feel very similar. You
Hmm.
don't really have that in the Halloween franchise. I think there's something for everybody, and that's why
Yeah.
you have people that are obsessed with 5 and people that are
Hmm.
obsessed with Curse and people that are obsessed with H2O. There's
Yeah.
something for everybody in the Halloween franchise.
And then you get the weirdos like you and I that really love Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 and Ends.
Yeah.
You know, and those are, I mean, talk about movies that are, well, especially Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. I think it does have some glaring flaws, but man, the stuff that works like really, really works there.
Like you said, it's punk rock.
It is punk rock through and through. And yeah, I mean, I think that's, you know, one of the things that's really fun. Like I just dropped a ranking video yesterday and people have been dropping their rankings in the comments. And it's really fun to see like, oh, wow, we have the same like number 2 and 3, but like everything else is like almost opposite. So it's fun to see like the similarities and then, you know, where everyone differs. Yeah, I mean, this movie is a lot of fun. One that I watch, I would say a couple times a year. I think I watched it 2 or 3 times this year. So
sure,
heavy rotation for sure. Yeah. Now you had brought up a couple that I wanted to get to. We can sort of do like a little bounce back and forth.
Sure.
You know, you had brought up, let's see here. Let's bring in something a little, you know, it's funny. The movies that you all brought up are like comedy horror. I noticed, or you know what I mean, like Sleepaway Camp 2. You know?
I was just going through Google and I was typed in 88 movies. I was like, oh yeah, this one. But yeah, I guess they just happen to be comedy movies. But I was even looking at like non-horror movies, and there's only one that I'll mention really, really, really briefly because it's important to me. Okay. Rambo 3. Rambo 3 was one of the first like VHS movies that I like fell in love with. And I'm a big Stallone fan anyway, but
yeah. Oh, he's great.
Yeah. I mean, but this is where Stallone helps the Taliban. And he goes to Afghanistan.
And it's where stuff starts getting really ridiculous, right? And Rambo 3 is where it's like, it's the MTV version of the Rambo series, like the hyper violent, like when you think about an 80s action movie, it's like one, you know, Rambo 3
he's
is
like breaking metal bars out of.
Yes. It's so that's the movie that they're making fun of in UHF from that Weird Al did. Yeah. Oh my God. I love UHF is so good. So damn good.
Sleepaway Camp 2. Yeah. That's one that I discovered quite a few years after the first Sleepaway Camp. And when I saw it, I was like, am I watching? Is this a Sleepaway Camp sequel? Just because the whole vibe of the movie feels completely different than the first movie. Angela's played by a different actress, Pamela Springsteen. So, and I love that it goes that way though, because I think I love 2. Like there's things I love about 2 more than I like about 1 and vice versa, you know? So yeah. It's a really fun movie.
Yeah, and it's got that whole like, you know, it just seems like it springboards from that original, and it sort of like almost wipes the slate clean in a fun kind of way. I mean, you've got the references to like the other slasher icons. You know, there's a bunch of metal paraphernalia in the background, some records hanging out on the walls and everything, and it just it's got that classic 80s feel where you've got like, you know, you've got your slutty characters, you've got all the blood, boobs, and butts and everything like that we come to love so much. Toilets.
You get a toilet kill.
Not many movies have a good old-fashioned toilet kill.
I know, man. You can't neglect a good toilet kill. I think in my first review, because I reviewed the movie twice, I said there's no better, and I don't know what I meant by this. I still don't, but I said there's no better movie to eat Twizzlers to than Sleepaway Camp 2. It just feels like a good movie to enjoy a pack of Twizzlers. Okay, I don't know.
Some movies are just, they transport you. You know, it's crazy. It's like it's like the way an album can do that for you as well. Like you can put some record on and it reminds you of like a specific year or time in your life, or like, oh, I remember driving around with so-and-so listening to this on cassette or CD or whatever the heck it was, you know? And I think movies can sort of do that too. It's like that healthy escape, you know, to a simpler time for sure. I think I found like the older that I get, it's like when I think of healthy escapes, there are always things that kind of make me feel like a kid again. And certainly eating Twizzlers, you know, would make me feel like a kid for sure. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And holy cow, we got Leanna gifted 5 memberships. That is amazing, Leanna.
Nice, Leanna.
Thank you so much. So we have Antonis
She's the best.
Andriotis. Yeah, she's incredible and hilarious too, cracking me up all the time. And I've got you to thank, Lee, because I think she had seen me over on your channel when we talked about Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, and she's been popping on over ever since. So yeah, Antonis was gifted a membership.
Taste in music too, by the way.
Oh yes, yes, we've definitely got some music Instagram chat going on the side, because we grew up like listening to the same. I'm guessing we're around the same age and seeing similar bands, like you know, when they were on tour and everything. So yeah, Antonis was gifted a membership. Miss 80s Movies and Music, Jonathan Ball, Austin Hale, and Tommy G76. I don't even know who some of these folks are, so that's amazing. Maybe we'll see them pop on in and hang out with us tonight. Yeah. I meant to ask you when we were talking about Halloween 4, Lee. I'm guessing you were into horror before all of that, but that's what sort of like just threw gasoline on the fire as far as
that threw
Halloween.
me into the deep end, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I have a weird relationship with horror before Halloween 4. Like every time I would watch it, I would be scared shitless, because I somehow would watch like stuff that like Friday Part 3. I remember watching Friday Part 3 when I was like 10 on TV. And you know, it destroyed me. Like the guy getting his face squeezed and the eyeballs popping out just completely destroyed me. So it's like I'm not gonna watch. I don't really like horror, but if I gotta watch it, I want to watch the hot sauce, you know, the stuff that's really gonna burn my tongue. And so I would watch stuff like that. And I remember I would watch like I caught like a little bit of Beyond the Door, which was like an Exorcist ripoff. When I was really
never
young.
heard of that one.
Yeah. Matter of fact, Beyond the Door might be my very first scare. Like, you know, you go all the way back, right, to when you were a toddler, to when you can first remember, right?
Yeah.
Can you remember that very first? You might not have even seen the whole movie. It could be just a single scene from maybe a commercial. I saw a commercial for Beyond the Door, and it was these eyes, these like yellow eyes, like you see, like Reagan had in Exorcist.
Oh, okay.
And I remember, I literally, my mom told me, she goes, like, you started crying and you started just like hyperventilating and freaking out because you saw these eyes. And so I think maybe that was the catalyst, the something that like stayed with me. And no other genre does this to me like horror does. And so I think it caught up with me by the time I saw Halloween 4.
Yeah, I have a similar thing with I'm pretty sure the first thing that really freaked me out was the TV show V, that miniseries with Mark Singer.
Yeah, definitely.
Because I'm an 82 baby, and they must have, I think it came out in 82. They must have replayed it in the mid 80s, and I saw it, you know, hiding behind my mom's recliner chair. It was like V and Large Marge from Pee-wee that like really kicked off me being scared of stuff. But then at the same time, like it was invigorating, like it was thrilling. And I got into Jaws as a young kid. Yeah. And so it was like from there, you know, the first time I saw a Halloween movie was the original Halloween 2 on TV. And it was like that, you know, I was probably like 8 or 9 years old, and that just sent me right over the cliff. So yeah, I mean, I was a fan of that as a little kid, but Halloween, you know, is also responsible for turning me into the freak show that is standing before you today.
I wonder if there's a way they could ever get like a tally on this, but like what fictional character has scared more people for the first time than any other? And I would wager that Myers probably, he might hold that title, because I've heard so many people say that Myers was had such an impact on them in terms of like freaking them the fuck out. Yeah, you know. My son, he doesn't even like horror movies, is afraid of Michael Myers, or he was when he was young. You know, he didn't want to go, like, get that away from me. That like freaked him out, that mask. Yeah. And I would bet that Myers probably holds the title, at least for the first person to really just freak people out.
Yeah, there is something about being watched, and there's something about the unremarkable features on the face, you know, that you can't quite figure out what's going on behind the mask. There's like this total unknown to it. And yeah, I think that's man, what blows me away is like last night when I'm handing out candy, little kids are coming up and they're like, hey, Michael Myers, like they
Oh yeah.
know who he is. And I guess maybe it makes sense because the movies are out, and of course their parents are probably my age and all that stuff. But it's amazing to think that like, wow, Myers is going to be like, he's right up there with like Dracula as far as like
Yeah.
greatest horror villains of all time, like icons that will be remembered long after we're gone. And that's pretty rare these days, because, you know, we see with guys like Jason and Freddy that, you know, you can do a remake and it can sort of be like the death nail, you know?
I think Myers,
Unfortunately.
and you correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like Myers has kind of lapped Jason now, because
Mhm.
let me explain that. What I mean by that is, back in the 80s and 90s, I felt like Myers was still more of a niche character. Like true horror fans
Yeah.
loved him to death,
Yeah.
but he wasn't like, I like say what Freddy was. You know, he wasn't really on like lunchboxes, and the only mask that you saw of Myers back in the 80s and 90s was, you know, I think maybe the six. I don't know. I don't even know. I mean, to
Yeah.
get a legit mask back then was really expensive.
Yeah.
Whereas now, I mean, it's everywhere. It's like, and because Jason hasn't had a big movie out since, you know, 2009, and then here comes Halloween. Like when I
Mhm.
started YouTube, Myers wasn't what he is now, because I started
Yeah.
in 2015, and
Mhm.
I always take credit for this. And I'm gonna throw a dig at Jimmy Champagne here real quick, because Jimmy Champagne made a he
Heyo.
said he said he said, I'm gonna take credit for this. I was the guy that got the ball rolling for the Halloween updates. No, because he said he did it when John Carpenter announced that he was coming back to 2018. Nope.
Mhm.
This guy right here did it when Halloween Returns was first announced back in
Mm.
like January of 2015. And I like giving Jimmy shit, but yeah. And when I did it, I was like, nobody's gonna really watch this. Like, he's still such a niche character.
Yeah.
And as soon as John Carpenter came into the fold, it exploded. Everybody, John Carpenter, Jamie Lee
Mhm.
Curtis, the mask comes out. It's the most fucking awesome mask we've seen in
Oh my
decades.
god. They
It was
finally
just like
got
a
it right.
perfect storm of everything. And then
Yeah.
2018 comes out. It's a crowd pleaser. Oh my God. Myers was everywhere. He was massive from that point.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and
yeah.
he like, it's crazy to think that, yeah, 7-year gap in the 80s. So Jason and Freddy eat everything in the 80s. They're the ones that
Mhm.
are responsible really for, you know, Myers kind of kicks off the craze, but they're the ones that sort of carry it through. And then everything changes in the 90s, and slashers got like kind of weird, and Scream was like, well, we're going to shift gears and do this
Yeah.
kind of slasher. And so, you know, that's kind of what happened with them. And then, yeah, I mean, the Rob like the remake, the Rob Zombie remake, I'm just sort of like, I hardly ever watch it. To me, it's just
Yeah.
like,
Same.
what's the point? I would just skip and go right to his sequel. But yeah, it really didn't resonate with folks. But it, you know, with what David Gordon Green did, like good or bad or ugly, like whatever you think about it, like Myers is at the top of that, like, you know, slasher king of the
Yeah.
mountain kind of thing. You know, he's king of the hill and he's looking down, and Freddy and Jason are like right at the bottom, because we
It's
don't
kind of
even know what the
sad,
hell's going on
you
with
know?
those guys.
You
Yeah.
feel like there was a huge missed opportunity there, because they're still Titans, but for some
Yes.
reason, maybe legal reasons, I don't know, but
Yeah.
they just cannot get them off the ground, and it's
Mm-mm.
frustrating, you know. For I'm a freaking massive Jason and Freddy fan.
Oh yeah.
I hate
Yeah.
that they're, you know, I almost feel guilty because my boy Myers, because I'm a Myers guy. I feel like, okay, he's getting all the love, and I feel kind of guilty for the Jason and the Freddy fans. You know, I
Yeah.
want them to come back.
It's terrible, and it is, you know, it's all rights issues. And I think the
Mhm.
big difference, and I talk about it all the time on my channel, like I don't cover news all the time, but when all the Crystal Lake news comes out, because it seems like that show's been sputtering for just over 2 years now, and it just had to start from scratch again. You know, I'm just sort of like, man, the big difference here is Malik Akkad cares about the fans and cares about Michael. And, you know, of course, cares about his pocketbook. It makes him money.
Yeah,
It's his
that's the
legacy that
answer.
he's leaving behind. But like, you know, I can speak from my experience hanging out at you know, H45, that like he really does love the fans. Like he was going around and mixing it up with people and
Yeah.
engaging people, not waiting for people to like come up to him. And it's like, So yeah, it's the way he makes a living, but there's passion there. And I think that's the difference. The people that have the rights for Freddie and Jason, there's not really they don't feel a directive to do anything, unfortunately. And I guess we can talk a little bit about Freddie and Jason because they both had movies that came out this year, you know, in 88. Friday the 13th, Part 7, The New Blood. Oh my gosh, what this movie would have been if they had kept the gore in there. You hire an amazing special effects wizard in John Carl Buechler, and then you just cut everything. And then even worse, they didn't keep the footage, so we'll never have that repaired version of The New Blood. But it's got a great Jason, a little bit of that supernatural thing with Tina and her telekinesis and all that. But a movie where like so much falls flat for me, but man, I love the way Jason looks. What do you think about The New Blood? And did you catch this one in theaters when it came out?
Yeah, this was the very first Friday movie I saw in theaters, actually. Again, packed house. Everybody was excited. You know, this is when Jason was king. And we're coming off the heels of 6, which was massive.
Yeah.
So, and I loved this when I wasn't like a Jason fanatic at the time. But so I guess I didn't know what to expect. And to me, as it was unfolding, I was really surprised because, oh, we got this telekinetic protagonist, which we've never done that before. And then you got Kane Hodder's best. I don't care if that's a fact. That's his best version of Jason.
For sure.
From Part 7. He just looks amazing. He's got the mannerisms, you know, the Kane mannerisms. Ironically, his first movie is where he's more signature than the rest of his movies. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. And that big showdown at the end, because of the nature of the movie, and you have this supernatural aspect with the telekinesis, maybe that's why I didn't mind that it wasn't so bloody.
Gotcha.
Because it had that supernatural thing going. Whereas if it would have just been a straight up, then I probably would have wanted more blood. And really, if you think about it, I don't think 6 really had that much blood either. It was more about it just had this really gnarly kill where he's bending the guy freaking. I mean, that's one of the greatest kills I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
So 7, I think, had a lot of cool things going for it. You know, it really did. And if we would have gotten that, you know, that really bloody version, like you say, then it would have been all the better.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's too bad. I mean, I think they've got like dark like VHS transfer footage on the Blu-ray if you've got that box set. So it's crazy to see. I mean, even if they split the difference, but everyone knows the MPAA was being pretty rude to the horror movies at that time. Yeah, I mean, in 6, what you've got, I think the most blood you see is when they go into the room, like there's the aftermath shot where there's literally blood all over the walls. But I guess since you're not seeing it spray out of anybody, it was okay. Because I know Tom McLaughlin wanted something that felt a little, you know, maybe not retro, but just like a little timeless as well. And I'm one of those guys too, where it's like, I don't mind a little bit of every kind of kill in my slasher. Like, yeah, you can have a couple off screen. Don't have half of them be off screen. Like in A New Beginning, I feel like half of the kills you don't even see like at all. But in this one, you know, I think they do a pretty good job. But yeah, you just don't see those bloody moments of impact. But man, as a kid watching this one on TV, because that's how I saw all these movies was on television in the early 90s. You know, everything would have been edited out anyways. So I love this movie because I love I was just getting into like X-Men and all that stuff. So I love the telekinetic powers. Like that was really cool. Seeing Jason's spine. I don't know what it is about that. I just thought that was the awesomest thing. And that chain that he's got around his neck, like the showdown is awesome when he throws the blonde bitch into the TV after axing her in the head. By the way,
that one.
She is one of the awesomest like asshole characters. Like she's up there with John Strode as far as like top-notch dickheads in horror movie history. And I kind of like that about this movie, that she, you know, you have to have your jerks, you know, or
you had her, and then you also had the doctor, Tina's, you know, God, I can't remember that guy's name, but oh my God, I hated him. And that was part of the fun of the movie. Is you were hoping, oh my God, I can't wait till this guy gets his, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
I think they should have swapped it. He should have had the back crack scene.
Oh man,
he deserved it more than the sheriff.
Yeah, and how does he get killed anyways? Does he get is it like the bandsaw?
Yeah, it looks like a weed eater with a skill saw blade
Yeah,
on it. Yeah,
there you go. Yeah, okay.
but yeah,
Yeah, that would have been
not
cool to
much.
see. And then he gets up and starts moving around, and it becomes Weekend at Bernie's too. That's the one thing people
And
don't know
he
is
he he uses his the Tina's mother as a shield.
oh yeah, he is the
What a
worst.
douche.
I will say too, and like that scene is making me think of it like I'm picturing it now. I think they filmed that movie like in Tennessee or Kentucky or some
Yeah, I think
place where
so.
it really doesn't look like an actual forest. Like the
No.
trees are all like dead Christmas trees. They're all like 5 feet apart. I'm like, I grew up in the forest. I've seen the other Friday the 13th movies. Like, this is not Crystal Lake. What the hell's
Mhm.
going on? Um, and yeah, one of my favorite scenes in this movie is I really like the the nerdy girl that gives herself the makeover and
Yeah.
everything, and she's
Oh
got
yeah.
that really suspenseful scene like in the shed trying to hide from Jason. That shit freaked me out as a kid. Like, as soon as Jason sees you, you're
Mhm.
done. Like
Oh
that's
yeah,
it.
it's
He's gonna
over.
find a way to get you.
But I like how they had this whole little, I don't even know if you'd call it a montage. Like, okay, I'm gonna get all hot now, and get dressed up and everything just to go get
Yeah.
killed.
Yeah. Well, and what does she say? She's like, need a little work my ass or something like that. And
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah.
well, no, but you actually just proved that you need more work because you did yourself up. Like,
Mhm. She
you
should
know,
have just went for Star Mummy, that dude.
there you go.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yes. And this movie has one of my favorite shots, in instance where it's almost like they're trying to do a little bit of a Michael thing with Jason, where he's like in the kitchen and the character's walking by and the lightning flashes and you see him like hiding in the corner of the
Yeah.
kitchen, but you like blink
Yeah.
and you miss it kind of moment. And they just don't really do that with Jason. Usually he's just so brutal and so like out there. He doesn't stalk as much as somebody like Michael would, but very effective, especially because Jason's just, I mean, he's like full universal monster.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
you're right. This is the best version that we got from Kane for sure. And it's unfortunate for how many times Kane played Jason. He's not, yeah, he's in the weaker movies, unfortunately.
I think that's what
Um,
hurts him.
yeah, I mean, I think if he were in Freddy versus Jason, and I know they didn't want the two characters to be like the same size, but I don't know, whatever. Like, be creative.
Yeah.
Like, if Peter Jackson could make Lord of the Rings with like forced perspective, camera tricks and all that stuff, then
Mhm.
come on. If Kane were in Freddy versus Jason, it would have been so much better. That's all
Yeah,
I'll say about
for
that.
sure.
Yeah, and let's see here. I think what I'm going to do, we're about an hour in. I'm going to gift another 5 memberships. I'm going to do it.
You are the man.
I figure why not do it at the beginning of the month when you get them. Boom, there it
Mhm.
is. Gifting 5 more memberships. Hell yeah. All right. So we've gained
Nice.
15 members here. Ian Lives, Flet's Movies and Pop Culture 13, Cameron Stewart, That's Andrew, and Wilkie's Movies and Music. All right. We got a couple different movies and musics account here. And I do want to remind everyone about the poll. We have 57 votes. You guys are amazing. Holy crap. Halloween 4 has 54% of the votes.
Of
And
course.
I'm kind of surprised because I get it with part 7, Friday part 7, but Nightmare on Elm Street part 4, I think is kind of underrated. And Hellbound, Hellraiser 2, I know that for some people that's their favorite in the
Yeah,
franchise.
that's a big one.
Yeah, for sure. And that's really, it's sort of where the lore like really opens up with
Yeah.
Hellraiser, and it becomes something totally, dreamy and surreal, a little bit of like a Ghostbusters vibe meets what they were doing in the first film. Yeah, really fun stuff. So I'm not surprised that Halloween 4 is winning, but I am surprised that it's completely destroying the competition.
Yeah.
And
Could be that whole Myers effect right now that we got, everybody loves Myers,
Yes. Everyone loves Myers, and I do think there is something like similar to what you were saying about Halloween 4, where it's like it is, it feels so comforting. It's like it's one that you can just go back to. Like, the way I am is I want to save the original for like that night or maybe the night before, like right around the holiday. So it's like you don't want to spoil it by watching it too much throughout the year. And Halloween 4 is the perfect answer to like, well, I want something that's kind of like that. But I don't want that right now.
Oh, for sure.
And moving on over to, you know, the third of the big three here with Freddy. Yeah, Nightmare on Elm Street 4, the Dream Master. You know, when I rewatched these in May to do my ranking, this one like climbed up a few spots from where I thought it would
Yeah,
be. Like I really enjoyed this
it's
one so
fun.
much more than I ever had. I'm guessing you saw this one in the theater as well.
Funny enough, I saw 3 in the theater. I can't remember if I saw I might have, but I don't remember. I think 3 is so freaking epic and amazing and one of the best horror sequels out there that
Mhm.
it was tough for 4 to live up to it. But when you just separate them and just watch 4 on its own, there's some really cool effects and cool
Yeah.
ideas, I think, in 4. And I like
Mhm.
that, you know, you had introducing a new final girl with Alice in it.
Yeah.
And Vinnie Vincent. I mean, I'm a Kiss fanatic, which of course is going to lend itself to Vinnie Vincent. And so Vinnie
Yeah.
Vincent Invasion having a song in this movie, which by the way, this is the only soundtrack movie that has Vinnie Vincent in it, you know. So yeah,
Yeah.
that was a huge leg up too. But yeah, I have a good time with this. It's got some really, like, everybody remembers the one where she just keeps running in circles. There's no like
Yes.
blood in that scene or anything, but
Yeah.
it's just being in that scenario. And like I think it's like a dream, right?
Yes,
Everybody's probably had a
exactly.
dream like that where it just feels like it never ends, and you're like you're looking for a destination, but you can never find it. And I think that's part of the fun of 4 and the franchise in general. It's just so relatable with, you know, a
Yeah,
dream like that.
I think Alice, like for me, just really works here. And I love
Mhm.
the I'm a fan of any time in a horror movie where you do a montage where people like kind of suit up and get their implements of destruction ready
Yeah,
and like
yeah.
they gear up for that fight. Like I love that shit
I
so
love that
much. I
shit.
mean,
Yeah.
you know, whatever movie it's in, I don't care. Like From Dusk Till Dawn has the great one where they're like loading up the condoms and super
Mhm.
soakers with the holy water. And here you have Alice like putting on like one charm from each one of her friends. It's like this really sweet moment that's also like getting you pumped for that final
Mhm.
fight. Yeah, and you know, Rennie Harlan, people do rip on most of his movies, and I would say like with this one, like I think this one really works and fits in the franchise, and to me doesn't go too far. It's, you know, Freddy is a little silly here, but he was kind of
Mhm.
silly in the third movie as well, you know.
I think the thing with Rennie is it's like you can never count him out because, yeah, he does
Mhm.
have a lot of duds, but then he'll come back with like a cliffhanger, you know,
Yeah.
or a Dream Master. You know, Dream
Yeah.
Master's really great, and it just it's like every third or fourth movie he comes up with something really good, and you're like, oh, okay, he's done. And I think that's kind of the thing with the Strangers. Chapter
Yeah.
1 is horrible, but I saw the trailer for chapter 2, and maybe Rennie can pull it off this time. 2 does look
Yeah.
like there could be some promise there, you know, and I call it the Rennie factor. There's a chance that you might end up with a really good movie with Rennie. So
So you're
don't ever
saying
count him
there's a
out.
chance. Yeah, it's sort
Yeah,
of like it's
exactly.
like the Star Trek movies. It's like every other
Hmm.
one. Is it
Every
going to
other
be
one.
good? And I have not seen chapter 1 yet. I just heard such terrible things
Oh,
about
it's
it.
horrible. It's
So
just very flat, you know.
and there's no chance that anything in chapter 2 could retroactively make the first chapter better
That's my
by
hope.
more
Yeah,
lore
like
or something that you
yeah.
have there's some sort of reveal that makes you look at, you
I
know,
doubt
chapter
it.
1
I highly
differently.
doubt it. I'm hoping there might be a nugget in part 1 that I go back, or sometimes that does happen where you watch a movie and you hate it, and then you watch the 3 sequels that come after it, and then you go back and watch the first one again, and you're like, okay,
Mhm.
I guess I didn't mind it that much. But I think the one of the biggest things that hurts the first one is that it's so much like it's like a remake of the actual 2008 version, but the 2008 version is so much better, 10 times
Mhm.
better. It doesn't feel watered down. Whereas this new one, it just feels so watered down. And the character decisions, and I know this franchise is notorious for character decisions, but they take it to a whole new level in
Mm.
chapter 1. Oh, it's just like, what the hell are you doing? So
Frustrating characters. Yeah, sometimes
frustrating. Yeah.
you have to find that fine line, right? Because it's like every story, every movie, every whatever is contrived by definition, but you don't want
Yeah.
it to seem contrived, you know, you don't want it to turn
Mhm.
into something where it's like, oh, now you're asking too much of the audience, you know.
Yeah, you got to find that line, you know, because it's horror. We are, you know, I mean, in real life, if you're in a situation, you're probably going to make some questionable decisions.
Mhm.
I think horrors, it's very forgiving with giving the audience and the characters a little bit of leeway, wiggle room, and the audience
Yeah.
will forgive that. But the second you step over that line and go a little bit too far, your audience is definitely going to throw tomatoes at you. You know,
Yeah.
that's just the
Yeah.
nature of horror fans.
It's how we are, you know.
It is.
We say we want something, but then when you give it to us too much, we get tired of it. And then
Mhm.
when you do something different, we don't like that either. You know, remaking that movie so soon after the original came out is a bit of a head scratcher. But yeah, I mean, here in the Dream Master, I mean, I think that it's a really smooth transition from
Mhm.
part 3. Like, to me, it
Oh yeah,
feels like the
definitely.
same universe. Like, I feel like Chuck Russell and Rennie are comparable as far as the way they shoot the movie. You know, you got your dirty walls. You have to have your dirty walls in a Nightmare on Elm Street movie. Seriously, the next time you watch these movies, you won't be able to unsee the random ass dirty walls.
Dirty
It's
walls
one of
go a
it's
long way.
yeah, it's like people were smoking or rubbing shit all over the wall. I don't know what
Yeah.
they were doing. But this one, you know, the effects are really like, I think this is where they really take things up a notch, and you realize that, like, man, if you're an effects person, or you want to be able to show off your skills in that realm, like, A Nightmare on Elm Street was the franchise, because they're so creative and they're
Yeah.
really pushing it. And it helps Freddy. Not only does Freddy talk and joke and all that stuff, but I think the effects, and the fact that you have dream sequences so you can do whatever you want, like, that's really
Mhm.
what separated Freddy from, you know, Michael and Jason, just your straight up slashers. And yeah, this movie is a damn good time.
You know, your dirty walls analogy, it is a good lesson for new filmmakers that are shooting on a really, really low budget.
Mhm.
Because we've seen those Walmart dumpster fire movies, and
Yeah,
when a character goes into a house, it's probably a nice house, but the walls are white, everything's so freaking
yeah,
clean, and I
sterile.
think that can hurt a movie. It makes it feel cheap for some reason. Whereas when you
Yep.
shoot a movie in a freaking like trailer park, and it's like the dirtiest as can be, or just like a shack, like in Friday Part Two, it just gives the scene character, you know,
Yes.
and that's what you're going for. Make it as dirty as possible. The original Halloween, when they're shooting the house, they shot it, you know, old and beat up, and that just gave that house so much character. And then they went back and had to paint the thing and make it look new-ish for
Yeah.
the opening scene. But
Yeah.
because they were using darker lighting, it made up for that, you know. So it didn't take you out of that world, right? And plus, you have freaking John Carpenter shooting the thing. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's a
John
good
Carpenter
analogy
with
though that you came up with there. Yeah,
Yeah, and I think, you know, just making sure the world looks lived in is good. You know, it's
exactly.
like the original Star Wars versus the
Yep.
prequels. It's like, does this seem real or not? Because
Hmm.
I've never, like, yeah, I guess you can say you've been like, we most people have been to someone's like pristine house or something like that. But yeah, there's something about wanting that grit, to have it just be a bit more believable, you know? So I
You
mean,
can
it's
look at like any scene in, I think, just about any of the Nightmare movies, and just freeze frame and
mhm,
like Nancy's room, and just count how many objects you see on the bed, on the wall.
yeah,
It could be CP blood. There's hardly a blank slate anywhere, you know, and that's
yeah,
part of the fun of the Nightmare on Elm Street. You're always looking around the frame because there's just
mhm.
so much there, and it's just and they don't, you know, it's cheap. It's the cheapest way to make a scene look expensive as hell.
Yeah, yeah, you got it. And it's sort of like, you know, when you see performers that are stiff and not acting natural, like, that's the equivalent of a house that looks too clean, or you know,
Hmm.
doesn't look lived in, or, you know, I think all those old like Amblin movies, like all that, the old like Steven Spielberg movies and all that stuff, and, you know, even going back to like something like Poltergeist, like, it just feels real. Like, you're like, these
Yep.
are real people's homes, but it's all It's all staged movie magic, just like the dirty walls in A Nightmare on Elm Street.
You know, there's a scene in like the 4-hour documentary for Rob Zombie, Michael Lives, I think. And man, that's such a great documentary because the scene where, like at the beginning of the movie, and you got Ronnie screaming, crying shit, and all that.
Yeah.
When they're shooting that, you see Rob Zombie like hands on getting in there and saying, hold on, stop, don't shoot yet. And he says, like, somebody hand me a brick. And he takes a brick and he takes the crib and he starts freaking dirtying up the crib with the brick because he says, this isn't a new crib. I want this crib to look like it's just old, nasty, and you know, and this wall here, I want you to make a painting, but just like halfway through the painting, just say fuck it and walk away. That's what this character would do. And I love stuff like that, you know.
That's awesome. Yeah, that
as far as being hands-on.
Yeah, that's kind of like that whole you know, like Kubrick was that way, where he was very, you know, people have talked about in The Shining, like he made sure to, like, you know, the cans that are on like the you know, the shelf behind Jack Nicholson in one of the shots or whatever, the Indians are like the natives are all facing one way, and then there's another shot where like one of them's facing the other way, and like he was just very deliberate about all that kind of stuff. Even I don't know if you've ever watched that documentary, that Room 237.
Yeah, I have.
Yeah, and they talk about all those like little, there's like Minotaur Easter eggs, which is crazy. And you think like this is all like production design, and it's all world building from the director and the team. And it is one of those things that that makes a movie, it just lets you have that suspension of disbelief and like sink into the world. And yeah, I mean, for me, I know that you know, Dream Warriors is going to take all the accolades for sure when it comes to the Nightmare you know, franchise as far as sequels go. But I think the Dream Master is pretty dang good and a great and worthy follow-up for sure.
Definitely.
Absolutely. Now, one of the other ones that you had brought up here, let's see here. I want to talk about, let's bring up Phantasm 2. This one's pretty interesting. Because it's kind of like, it's sort of a sequel, but it sort of feels like a totally different thing all at the same time, you know? And this is one of those movies, man, I haven't seen this movie in years, so you might have to pull the weight on this one. It's been a while, but this one is another one. While it's not like, you know, a lot of the ones that you threw out were comedy, this one isn't like necessarily comedy, but it's got that like fun comic booky, like George Romero, Dawn of the Dead kind of like approach, where like you want to suit up with these guys and like go after the tall man, you know, with them.
Well, this is the bigger, like this feels like the Terminator 2 compared to the Terminator. It's so much bigger than Phantasm, and the world is bigger, and you know, because Phantasm is a very supernatural type of franchise, you know, fantastical. And so how far can we take this now that we have a bigger budget? And that's what, and Phantasm 2 is easily the best movie of the franchise. I feel bad for they replaced the main actor from the first movie. He got really butthurt about it, so much so that he can't even watch Phantasm 2.
Didn't they bring him back?
Yeah, they did. He's in the rest of the movies, I think. But
that's wild.
For some reason, the studio, because I think Phantasm 2 was when a bigger studio took hold, and they said, okay, we can make this movie, but I want you to replace that actor. And so somehow he ended up back in part 3. Yeah, that's Hollywood wild for you, though. You know, sometimes they do that stuff, but
yeah. I mean, quick aside, they tried to get Kevin Smith to replace Jay in Mallrats. They had like Seth Green auditioned, like multiple actors auditioned. Yeah, they told Kevin, they're like, we want a real actor. That guy's just your friend. He's not an actor.
Crazy.
And Kevin's like, but he's the guy. Like, that's just him. You know, and how weird it would have been to go from Clerks with Jay, and then I try to picture Mallrats with like Seth Green playing Jay, and I'm like, you know, Seth Green's fine in most of what he's in. Like, I think he's pretty funny most of the time, but he ain't Jay. Jay's just you know, oddball.
Jason Mewes steals every scene, you know.
Oh yeah,
like, and when I'm watching Clerks, I can't wait for Jay and Silent Bob to come on screen again.
Yeah, he's effortless, and he's sort of like it's like poetry that doesn't rhyme. It's just like this
Yeah.
jazz, comedic jazz. It's amazing.
Mhm.
And Phantasm 2, yeah, compared to like even something like Phantasm 1, it's, you said Terminator 2 to Terminator, and like,
Yeah.
and I start thinking, I'm like, Terrifier 2. Like that
Yeah.
might be like the modern comparison, where a lot of the first movie just doesn't really make much sense, but it's
Mhm.
like you said, very fantastical, and it's kind of all about the mystery. You're not really supposed to know exactly what's going on. Kind of makes it a little bit better. But yeah, in Phantasm 2, they're like, nope, we've got to have an anchor, and we have to have like a more of a direction to go, and it turns into
Mhm.
sort of like a I don't know, is it a prototype for something like Supernatural, where they sort of go on a travel movie and go hunting?
Yeah.
you know
It gets really, really ambitious, and
Mhm.
I remember, and it's been a long time since I've seen it too, but it's hard to make a really good final act that sends it home, and I think they do it the best in Phantasm 2. And the
Mhm.
movie, it just feels like a full meal of a movie. That's what it was. The first one,
Yeah.
the first was great. Don't get me wrong, some cool ideas and everything, but two is just if you want to go the bigger is better approach, then
Mhm.
Phantasm 2 is a good example of that.
Now, do you think you can sort of skip the first one and just jump right to Phantasm 2?
I think
Or
it is one of those movies where I think you would understand if you did do it's kind of like Evil Dead 2 to Evil Dead. I
yeah.
think I think you'd be fine, and maybe the chat could help me out on that, but I don't think you necessarily have to watch the first movie to fully understand what's going on in Phantasm 2. Remember back in the 80s where the trend was any sequel, they would try their best to catch the audience up, like Friday,
Yeah. Oh my
they'd
gosh,
always give
yes.
you like a recap.
Yeah, you get Paul's like campfire speech a few times,
Yeah, yeah,
after the
yeah.
second film, just to make sure everyone knows what's up. I think they even brought like Crazy Ralph back to do one of the narrations of it all
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
Yeah. You have to do that, especially in the days where like people didn't have VHS, or not everyone
Mhm.
had beta or VHS. So people are like, they haven't seen this movie
Yeah.
since the last time it was in the theater. So it's
It
been
wasn't all
I,
over social media, and there weren't gifs of it going, seeing,
yeah,
every 5 minutes.
yeah.
Back in the day, like I said with Halloween 4, I saw that TV spot, and that was the first thing I had even heard of it. Or you might read a Fangoria magazine, and you
Yeah.
know, I miss those
Well,
days. I really do. Because I think the hype for movies it got bigger
mhm.
because
Yeah.
it's like less is more, right?
Well, and you weren't able to, back then we weren't able to sit there and pick everything apart and try to like solve and write the
Mhm.
movie before we went and saw the movie. And I think that's a big thing with like people being disappointed in a film, is like, well, you spent like 9 months like digging into every frame of the trailer, talking
Mhm.
about what your theories were, what you wanted for the movie, and then you sat and watched something that it took hundreds of people or 1,000 people to create, depending on how many special effects folks are there. And of course, you're going to be disappointed because you spent all this time sort of like writing your own version. And I think that's one
Mhm.
of the things, we say like, oh, they give away everything in trailers nowadays. No, they've always given away things in trailers.
Mhm.
That's a big thing I've learned from All the Good Names Are Taken podcast. They do that trailer park thing, and they
Yeah.
dissect old school trailers. But the difference is, Lee, like you just said, you saw that one spot, and maybe you saw that spot once a week, you know
Mhm.
like, so you saw a trailer for a movie, and then boom, it's gone. Or you see the long trailer while you're in the theater watching another
Yeah.
movie, and then you only see a TV version, like a 10-second TV version of that or something. So even though they put spoilers in there, they weren't, seared into our minds. Now you can just sit there and watch the trailer over and over, and um just dig into everything. I think, when Star Wars was doing their sequels, I was into all the theories. And then of course,
Yep.
yeah, when Halloween 2018 was announced, I was watching your channel and Dave's channel and all that
Mhm.
stuff. And I managed to quell the hype enough to really enjoy those films still. But yeah,
Yeah,
it's
thinking back on that with like the updates and everything, and I still
mhm,
do them, but I definitely have tried to taper back on that as much because, like, I remember when Ends was coming out, and I would see some channels they would do an update like every freaking week, and
yeah,
it was almost like they were trying to go out of their way to spoil and say that they
Mm,
were right. Like some of them, they would even get arrogant about it, even though they didn't know if they were right or not. But they would say, "No, no, this is really going to happen." Like
yeah,
I remember somebody was saying that there was going to be like a Hobo Myers in Halloween
sure.
Ends, kind of like what was in Rob Zombie's, and they were like almost swearing upon it, like, "Yeah, no, 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 trust me, I'm the guy." And everybody likes to
Yeah,
flex their sources. Like, I know this
sure.
guy in the industry, and I'm his number one guy. He tells me everything.
Yeah,
Who gives
he's
a
putting
shit?
his this guy
Yeah,
puts his career on the line so I can spill
yeah.
news on the internet. Probably
Oh my,
not. Probably not.
yeah, I see some channels, they can't wait to flex their sources. Like, I'm so
Sure.
important, and make sure you listen to me. And I'm upfront with my audience. I'm just like, I don't know shit. Okay.
Yeah.
I can speculate about things here and there, but I don't even really like doing that as much anymore because, like you say, I think less is more. And sometimes it's fun just going into that movie.
Mhm.
And I think it's cool that I see some people, they don't even watch trailers anymore. They're able to
Yeah.
just like, I refuse to watch any more trailers. I can't do that. I still watch some trailers, but I respect that, to have the
Yeah.
willpower to say, no, I don't want to know anything. I just want to go into it
Mhm.
and just find out for myself.
I'll watch that first trailer, and if they hook me on the first trailer, I'm done.
Same.
I don't want anything else spoiled, and I don't want my excitement to fall down. So I came to that realization like this summer, where
Hmm.
I was just like, once they have me hooked, I'm out. Even with something like Late Night with the Devil, I'm like, man, this idea is so cool. I don't know if I want to watch the trailer because
Hmm.
I like the idea, like just on the premise alone, I want to go see the movie in the theater. But yeah, I've kind of taken a step back. The last time I watched a movie in the theater, I just like looked down when the trailers were
Hmm.
playing because I didn't want whatever it was, Nosferatu or something like that. I'm just like, you know what? I'm gonna go watch that movie. I trust Robert Eggers. I don't need to like
Hmm.
check his work,
Yeah,
or anything
my
like
my
that.
tactic now is like, if it's a movie, I'm like, I don't know if I want to see this. I'll start the trailer, and as soon as I'm interested, I'll shut the trailer
Mm,
off. And sometimes that'll take
yeah,
10 seconds, sometimes it
yeah.
might take 30 seconds. I don't know. But now my new tactic is I rarely finish a trailer. As soon as I'm like, okay, I want to
Mm,
see that, I shut it off. So
that's a
that
good
way,
that's a
because
good way to
sometimes
go too.
they'll spoil like the last act of the movie. So
Yeah, and
yeah.
like with Long Legs, I watched like all the little tiny teasers they dropped in like January or February, whenever that was, with those really odd, like that was all I needed to see the movie. The
Yeah.
first trailer I didn't think was too spoilery, like it just made me want to watch it more. And then they put out another one like a couple weeks before the movie came out, and I'm like, no way in hell
Hmm.
am I watching that. Like
No.
that's the desperation trailer of like, oh, we just want to make sure all the non-horror people watch the movie too. It's like, oh, come on, guys.
Yeah, and
Because
stay away from
especially,
those last minute TV spots too.
oh,
They
geez.
can really give away
Yeah.
too much.
Oh, they are the worst.
Mhm.
We got Bronson Wright Wolf, who's one of our great
Bronson,
channel
all right.
members. How are you doing, Bronson? Says Beetlejuice is the one movie from 1988 that I enjoy the most. It's obviously an instant classic. It always will be for many years to come. And yeah, that's another one that you had brought up, Lee. I didn't even
Mhm.
think about it because I mean, I consider it a horror comedy, but it wasn't on Wikipedia's list of horror films from 1988. So I might
Yeah.
have to make a correction. Uh, but yeah, Beetlejuice, holy cow. I mean, this is one of my wife's favorite movies of all time. I mean, what can you say about this movie? I mean, the performances are just
Mhm.
absolute gold all around. And everyone brings it. Like everyone's amazing. I mean, the Danny Elfman music is great. This is like peak Tim Burton, before it was overdone or whatever you want to say about Tim Burton's style. It was still so fresh here. And
Yeah.
felt so different for somebody within Hollywood to be able to make a movie like Beetlejuice.
Mhm.
Was this one that
It's so
you,
unique.
yeah, did you fall in love with this one right away? Was this a theater watch for you back then?
Well, I didn't watch the movie in full until recently. Bronson's actually one of my patrons, and he had me review it, and I was glad he did, because it's one of those movies, because it's so popular that you might question, like, wait, did I see this? I'm not sure if I
Hmm.
saw this. And then when I watched it, I was like, oh, there's a lot in this movie that I don't remember. So I guess I haven't seen it. But what I found so cool about it, because sometimes I love reading about the behind the scenes and the tidbits and how the movie was made.
Hmm.
One little factoid was really cool to me. it was inspired somewhat by Poltergeist. Let's take Poltergeist, and
Mm,
instead of making the scary part the ghosts, let's make the ghosts kind of the comedic part, and let's
yeah.
make the family that's moving in the house the assholes. So they kind of flip the
Yeah.
idea of Poltergeist with Beetlejuice, and it works. It makes it for a good comedy.
Yeah, it's that's a good point. It's yeah, you kind of have like the yuppie couple who we don't even really know. I don't even know if we know what they do that made them so damn rich. But what's really
Mhm.
funny, like as you were saying that, I was like, oh my gosh, did Tim Burton see into the future of what he and Helena Bonham Carter were going to be like? And is that who these characters are based off of? He had some sort of glimpse into the future of
There's
like
something to that for sure.
this wacky couple who doesn't seem like they have anything in common.
Mhm.
But they love this gothic house and want to, decorate it and exploit these ghosts and everything like that. Yeah, I mean, I think this is, man, Gina Davis was so like effortlessly charming back in the
Yeah.
day, like, The Fly and of course this one as well. I mean, there's plenty of others, but this is a standout performance there for her. I think Alec Baldwin is like probably it's amazing to me that he just looks like a regular guy here. I think it's
Yeah.
like easy to forget that it was even him.
I
And
do
then
all the time. I forget that he was in
yeah,
this.
yeah, he just looks like so, black
Mhm.
and white flannel and
Yeah.
grandpa glasses and everything like that. And man, I mean, Winona Ryder's fine in it. I think she's charming enough, but Michael
Mhm.
Keaton is like I don't know. He just is such a show stealer, and it's like a character that he was born to play.
Yeah.
I saw the sequel recently, and really the only thing that like worked for me the whole time was him. And I think
Mhm.
that is something that's on like full display here. I don't know if anyone else could have played Beetlejuice in this movie.
Yeah. He's only in the original Beetlejuice for, I think, like 15 minutes. That's it for the whole movie,
Wow.
but spaced out, I think, so perfectly. But you don't even see him for the first time, I think, until like maybe 45 minutes into the movie. So, but and
Yeah.
maybe that's why you're like begging for more of him by the time you see
Mhm.
him. And when he does come up on this, he's really funny. He's great.
Yeah,
So,
he's got this like used car salesman kind of like
mhm.
way about
Yeah.
him that's just like speaking really quickly and very quippy and hilarious and like the way that Marvel tries to make every character now except for here it stands out because it's just the one character.
Mhm.
It's that kind of feel you get here. Yeah, Beetlejuice, man. It's I can't believe that it
Classic.
had slipped my mind. It's an absolute classic, and if you see the sequel, you can see that it's difficult to recreate all of that magic. You can recreate some of it, but it
Mhm.
is tough to recreate all. I did see a couple others. I know we've been chatting for a while. I want to be respectful of your time and let
No,
you
no, you're
get
good.
going here soon. But there were a couple that were shouted out that I do have on the list here. Jamie Hart had brought up the Blob. I think it's man, those three horror remakes in the
Mhm.
80s, The Thing, The Fly, and The Blob are incredible. Like what a lineup of remakes. And I just rewatched The Blob the other night. Another Chuck Russell movie who did Dream
Yeah.
Warriors. He's very capable. I think the special effects here are really damn good. You never know who's going to get it, especially in the first act. Like this movie kind of pulls out all the stops.
I've had the Blu-ray of the Blob sitting in my stack for a few years now. I still have never watched it.
Never ever, not once you've ever seen The
And
Blob?
so many people tell me, dude, it's like one of the best freaking remakes. And I'm sure they're right, but I just have never taken the time to watch it. I
It's
need
really
to.
fun, man. I think I
Mhm.
think what you'll dig about it is it's this cool, oh gosh, it's like they combine the effects of like the old-timey Blob and the
Mhm.
effects of the 80s. So you get some
Nice.
really great 80s like gore special effects, but then they also use like miniatures and forced
Mhm.
perspective for some of the shots with the Blob. So it's like really creative. Matt Dillon's brother Kevin is in it. He plays
Yeah.
a total badass. He has so many great one-liners. I mean, Shawnee Smith, everybody in the horror community loves her for Saw, and rightly so, but she's really charming here as well.
Love
Um,
Shawnee Smith. Yeah.
yeah,
I
and
need to
it's
check it
just
out.
yeah, it's a really fun movie. It's a good Yeah, you know, The Thing, The Fly, and The Blob, they all just knocked it out of the park. Just wanted to give a shout out to that one since Jamie said it is her favorite remake. That's really cool. A couple others that got shouted out. Pumpkinhead. I
You're gonna
really
kill
dig
me. I haven't
Pumpkinhead.
seen Pumpkinhead either.
All right, we'll put that on the list. We'll talk
Yeah,
about it
that's gonna be
next
on my
time.
list.
Lance Henriksen is awesome. It's a good like folklore horror. Stan Winston directed this movie, which is really cool.
Damn, that is
So
cool.
yeah, I don't know if it's the only film he ever directed. I would imagine if he directed more, he didn't direct very many. But this one is really fun. It's definitely like that, you know, kind of a story of morality. Like the bad characters get their comeuppance. There's an accident, and you know, you can say this spell to bring this creature into the world to take care of those people. It's that kind of vibe, you know.
Yeah.
Folklore, not like The Crow, but not unlike The Crow, you know. And then it becomes this whole thing of like, oh my god, what have I unleashed, you know, that kind of thing.
It's kind of a creature. Is it a creature feature?
Yeah, I would say it's a
Sort
bit
of.
of a creature feature meets folklore, because they have like that witchcraft and supernatural element for sure. And the creature is like controlled to a certain degree. But man, Lance Henriksen is awesome here. I really dig the soundtrack too. That's one thing I noticed that I really liked the last time that I watched it. It's got this like country kind of sound, and it's just a different like backwoods sort of hanging out in the marsh kind of soundtrack. Really fun stuff. And then another one that was brought up here, Child's Play. I really dig the first Child's Play. You know, Chris Sarandon is great here. This movie feels sort of like a gritty cop drama meets a story about a killer doll. But it feels as grounded as you can make a movie feel for being about a killer doll. I'd imagine
I think what made it so great is like the restraint, because that first, like when you finally see Chucky like unleash on the mother, it's a good good amount of time into the movie.
Sure.
And I think, you know, they played it perfectly. Let's don't make him full on Chucky right away. Let's take some time and build to it, and have kind of a precursor to it, because she sees the batteries are not there.
Yeah.
But then so the audience knows it's coming. It's coming really soon, and then and it just unleashes in front. So that's like one of the best scenes in the whole franchise. It's
oh man, it's amazing.
And then it's Brad, and you don't even know what he's gonna say. And then Brad Dourif, you know, just says just you fucking
yeah, you stupid fucking bitch, you fucking bitch. Like he's you're calling her a
you would never
you don't know her.
Say that.
Yeah, he immediately is like, now that I'm found out, I'm ready to fucking kill you. Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think they've got a little bit of that theater of the mind thing going on. Even though the audience knows that, you know, there is something supernatural going on with Chucky, it's like all the other characters in the movie are like, is this kid, is he responsible for these deaths? Like, what's going on? And I really like that aspect. Again, something that makes it feel grounded, even though it's like so wacky, you know. And people rip on the end of this movie, but I think it's like epic, like getting his leg blown off and like cooking in the fireplace. And like,
that's the thing. Funny thing about the Chucky series too is like almost every sequel, they ended in a way where Chucky's just obliterated, but you just know that they're going to find another doll to bring him back.
Yeah, you have to, like, you basically have to dismember the body. But all it takes is like one drop of blood or whatever. I think that's what happens in the first sequel, if I remember. It's just one drop of blood that falls in there. And of course they're like, well, we're going to reuse the shell of the same face and everything. It's ridiculous. But Child's Play 2 is very, very good as well. One of the better sequels out there for sure. But yeah, man, the first Child's Play movie, this was one of the first horror movies I ever fell in love with. I think I was watching Child's Play before I ever saw any of the Halloween movies on TV. I had a buddy of mine whose dad was really into it, and he had the VHS, so I could hang out at his house and we could watch the full R-rated everything. And yeah, this is one of those. It's funny. I can't get my wife to watch these movies. She's got a strict rule about dolls. Some people have their doll rules and their clown rules for sure, and I totally get it. But I would say, even for the folks that are skittish of dolls, I do think this first movie is worth your time, for sure.
I think there's kids that are aware of Chucky probably years before they even watch, because
Yeah.
because I have a standing Chucky like right here, and my granddaughter, every time she comes to my house, the first thing she wants to do is she wants to go upstairs and she wants to go get Chucky, and then she like takes his clothes off, and so she'll put a diaper on him, and then she'll change him.
Oh my
And I'm like, if
gosh.
she only knew what this doll was, but she loves Chucky.
It's gonna mean something totally different once she starts
Oh
watching
yeah,
the movies.
when she finally watches it, oh boy, you just wait.
There were so many. I probably saw like 5 little kids dressed up as Chucky last
Oh
night,
yeah.
which
Chucky will
is,
live on forever, man, because
yeah.
he's got that look, and he's a doll, and the franchise is such a nice alternative to the more serious stuff like the
Mhm.
slasher stuff and whatnot. Chucky, it's just fun,
Yeah.
it's just a blast. He's hilarious.
Yes.
There's also some good horror, some good kills in there. Like there's some creepy moments in the first Child's Play. So it's
Yeah,
a good balance.
I even think the first 2, like, he's more quippy in the second one, but I do think there are some, legitimately freaky moments
Mhm.
for sure. But yeah, I mean, that first movie, like all the voodoo stuff, like when I was a kid, watching these for the very first time, breaking, John's legs and all that stuff with the voodoo doll, like that really freaked me out.
Yeah.
Yeah, this movie was really effective. And what's funny is, they didn't have like Chucky dolls at that time. But I I asked for a My Buddy for Christmas the year that I fell in love with Child's Play, because it was the closest thing I could get,
Yeah.
So I was one of those weird kids that was like, yeah, I want some creepy doll sitting in my room, even though I was way too old at that time for a doll. I was like 8 or 9 years old, I think a
Yeah.
little bit too old for a My Buddy, let's be honest. But Chucky, man.
My
And I think,
grandmother, she used to make like Cabbage Patch dolls, but they were really
mm,
creepy looking. And my grandmother passed away like back in the early 90s, but she gave all the dolls to my dad. And so every time I go home to visit, I have to sleep in the room and all those dolls are staring at me the whole time. And it's like really freaky. And my grandmother made, so there's a horror movie in the making right there
yeah.
in that bedroom.
And the moonlight just hits them
Oh
perfectly
yeah,
in
it
the middle.
does.
You're like
Yeah.
frozen in fear.
Like
It's
shit.
like, have you seen Grandma's Boy? You ever seen that?
Oh yeah.
When he's
That's
he's like,
hilarious.
yeah, and the grandma's like, no one came to find me. Like, it's so cold when you're dead.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what
That's
that
an
reminds me of.
underrated comedy, man. Nobody ever talks about
Oh
Grandma's
man,
Boy.
Grandma's Boy is one of the
So
best.
good.
My wife and I are both big fans of cannabis, so we're extra big fans of that movie. I mean, I think
Yeah,
it's one of
yeah.
the great stoner comedies of all time, but man, it is just jam-packed with jokes on jokes on jokes.
Oh
It's
yeah.
just
It's
crazy.
hilarious.
Antonis has a question. Davey and Lee, do you guys like Bride of Chucky? What do you think of Bride?
Yeah, absolutely. It's great. It's the bad thing about it is the movie after it is Seed, which I hate, but
Sure.
Bride, man, it's just got the right balance, and you get to
Hmm.
introduce Tiffany into the mix. It's got a great soundtrack, great rock soundtrack,
Yeah,
and I think that's because I wasn't the biggest fan of 3 either. It's okay. There's some great
it's okay.
moments in 3. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
I mean, Don't Fuck with the Chuck is from 3. I got to give
it's
it
great.
that, but
Yeah.
I think 4 is when it comes back into, and I think 4 is when you got to like introduce some new things, and that's why maybe they introduced Tiffany. But
Hmm.
yeah, it's really fun. I love Bride.
Yeah, Antonis, I'm a fan as well. I'm wrapping up the editing on the review that I'm doing for you. Should be, hopefully I can get that all done tomorrow. So I don't want to say too much here. But yeah, to
Mhm.
me, it seems like a revitalization of the
Yeah.
franchise. And yeah, introducing new characters and expanding the lore.
Yep.
And it's interesting at that time, we didn't know that if we were ever going to see Andy ever again, or if it was ever really going to connect to the other movies in a bigger more meaningful way. But yeah, Don Mancini is able to like weave this tapestry of,
Yeah.
horror
He
throughout these
loves this
films.
franchise.
it's incredible what he's been able to do. Like it
Yeah.
is incredible, and it's really cool when one person still gets to control their baby. I think that's very
Yeah.
rare. So I'm very happy that he still gets to do that for sure. Yeah, and I think that might be, I think that's a good place to, I've got a few other movies on the list, but we've been chatting here, having a good talk
Yeah, man,
for
it's been a
quite a while
blast.
now, about almost or a little over an hour and a half with you, Lee. Yeah, it's been incredible,
Yep.
man. This has been, ever since I started my channel, I was like, well, at some point I want to get Lee on. I want to wait for the right time. I want to make sure like things are moving and it's not just my first month and I'm like, hey, Mr. Lee.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Hey,
man, it's
one
been,
thing you want to highlight there is I was going to ask you about this. Raymond Malibu, he says, did you see Jamie Lee Curtis backtracked on never doing another Halloween movie? Did you see that?
ooh, I did not.
Yeah,
Did she really
she
did?
did. So I think it was Variety. They asked her, would you ever do it? And she said, it's a quick story. She said, never say never. And then she hung up on them. I guess they were on the phone.
Wow.
And so, which is kind of weird. Like, why would you hang up on them? But yeah, she said, never say never. So does Jamie Lee Curtis want to come back to the Halloween franchise?
Damn.
What
This is
would you
exactly
be for
why
that?
I think I'm okay on the
Yeah.
Jamie Lee Curtis. You know what? If she wants to come back in some sort of capacity to, be a producer and help finance the film and like still have a stake, in the claim and be there to like help with the story or what, stuff like that. Like I'm okay with her operating in that capacity, but it's like with John Carpenter, I'm sure they tried to get him back to direct, before they went with David Gordon Green, I would imagine. But like, I love that he's involved just as a musician because I think that's probably the thing that he does best. So, it's sort of like, yeah, I don't want to see that version of Lori ever again, but if she comes back in some other way, that's cool. But yeah, we've
They'll
just got
probably clone her 200 years later, like
this is
Alien Resurrection.
and this is exactly why I was hoping she was gonna like jump into the grinder at the end of Ends. I
Yeah,
was
I
like,
wanted her to jump into that grinder. I love Halloween Ends, but my ending, oh my God, if he would have been able to grab her and pull her into that
yeah,
grinder, I think they should have died together. Don't you?
yes.
Like,
I I
that'd be
I
the
thought
fitting ending.
I thought that's what was gonna happen in her house. Like before Allison saved her, I was like, shit, they're both gonna die. Like he's
Yep,
gonna
that's what I was
choke her
thinking.
out, and that's gonna be the last thing he does before he
Yep.
passes away. And I was like, that's the way to end it, right?
I just
Because
had a funny thought. What if, like, right before he dies, he scalps her? I think that'd be the only acceptable way for her to not die is if she's
yeah,
scalped.
and then she just has to operate like that for the rest of her
Yeah, that's
life.
for the rest of her life. Okay, I'm alive, but fuck, now I'm scalped.
Yeah, now Hawkins
That'd be the
can't tell me
ultimate
that he
troll
likes my
move by
hair.
Myers.
Yeah, she's like, one
Oh
day I
man,
just chopped it off. Somebody else
yeah.
fixed it. And then you get Hawkins comes in and he's like, Jerry Blossom.
Yeah, you so crazy.
Yeah, you so crazy. Oh my gosh. Oh geez. Yeah, I think she should have turned around. I think I said it the other day on a live. She should have
Yeah.
done like the Hawkeye jump off the roof and turn around, but she should have flipped everyone off in Haddonfield and just went into the grinder. Just
Peace, bitches.
yeah, and then that way it's sort of like this, if we consider them kind of like the yin and the yang,
Yeah.
or like, there's like a balance there. Like
Yeah.
he dies, she dies, or as long as she's alive, like the evil can still go on. Yeah, I don't know. But I would have been okay with her dying, that's for sure, because I've seen enough of that version of Lori. Absolutely.
I'll tell you what, I'll put a statement out right now. Okay. If Jamie Lee Curtis comes back in the very next Halloween movie, I will take my Halloween collection and I will kick it like the dog in Anchorman over my frick in the lake. I will do that. Okay. Now I got to do
this
this.
is happening. Yep,
Yeah. Now this
exactly.
is happening.
Yeah. Yeah, it would be one of those things where I'm just like, oh shit, all the jokes people made when 2018 came out about like, well, she'll be back for in 20 more years for, 60. And it's like, trauma.
Yeah. More trauma.
Yeah.
I think even Myers is sick of trauma. He's probably like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, I think for
Yeah.
a lot of Halloween fans, we're sort of like we're ready to go back to something just
Hmm.
simple, just back to basics, which it's a
Yep.
shame that Corey's character couldn't make it through ends because I think that he really could have been he could have carried on the franchise from there. It literally could have been that he's the new shape and whatever
Yeah.
line that Michael walked between supernatural and, being natural, like Corey could do those same things. Cause I love that the supernatural aspects of Michael aren't ever really explained. I mean, even in the David Gordon Green trilogy, they tried to say he wasn't supernatural, but clearly something's going on that's
Yeah.
allowing him to live through all this damage that a normal person wouldn't be able to live through. And I kind of dig that. And I was like, oh, sweet,
Hmm.
we're going to get a whole new. This answers the question of how do you reboot Halloween? You just have somebody else assume that role.
Yep.
And Rowan looked great in the coveralls and mask, man. When he's going around,
Yeah.
like,
You didn't see them you know how it is in horror movies. Unless you actually see them bury the body,
yeah,
or
true.
decapitate him, then there's always a chance from a writer's perspective to keep
Hmm.
Corey alive, you know? Like
For
the
sure.
audience would buy it, I think.
And I think the way that movie should have ended is after Michael gets put through the grinder, we just see like one shot of Laurie's empty, dark house. And it's the spot where Corey was at the bottom of the
Hmm.
stairs in that hallway, and no one's there. Just the
Yep.
blood is there and no one's there. And I'm like, that would have been a really cool kind of a callback to the original. And then you shoot to all the places and you hear the breathing start and all that. And
Yep.
it ends the way that the first movie ends would have been the perfect launch pad. But yeah, we're not going to get that, Lee. Not unless you and I
No, we're
make it
not.
as a
No, we're not,
film.
Davey.
Well, Lee, this has been an absolute blast, man. I really appreciate you kicking it with me for so long. I've said it a couple times, but I'll say it again. You're one of the reasons why I not only started the channel, but got really into YouTube. So it's kind of surreal to have you on the channel. And I love seeing all the success you're having on the main channel and on your DRUMDUMS extra as well. There are links in the description below, guys, if you want to subscribe to Lee's channels if you aren't already. I don't know how you found my channel if you're not already subbed to Lee, but please go and check him out if you have not yet. And yeah, what do you have coming up here in the near future that you can plug for everyone in the chat?
Well, first off, I'll just say that you're doing just fine, Davey. I can tell when a channel is going places and when a channel's not really going places, at
Mm-hmm.
least not right now. And
Mm-hmm.
you're doing just fine. And you can tell I'm sure your audience will back me up on this, man. I
They're
think,
amazing.
especially compared to like when I start, I feel like you've got some stuff figured out that a lot of people didn't figure out so quickly. So
Mm-hmm. Thanks.
I think you're a student of the game, so you're very charismatic. You run a good live show, and yeah, I'm proud of you, man. I think you're doing great, and that's
Thank
what you
you.
want. I think most importantly, you're passionate. You can tell that
Yeah.
you love talking horror. You're passionate about having a channel and building a community, and that's what it's all about. And you're not in it for
Mm-hmm.
the wrong reasons, which is
Mm-hmm.
another thing that I see people. I want to get a million. I want to get a million views just like that, and I don't want to
Yeah.
really put in the work. And I want to, all this just takes a lot of work, but it also takes passion, takes pride. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's a
you're
slow
doing great,
burn.
man. It is.
It's
It's a very slow burn, and it's not always going to be like this. Sometimes it's going to be like this. You just got to
yeah,
roll with it. So, but yeah, as
exactly.
far as on my channel, I think the big because I like to have a big project in front of me at all times, and that
Mm-hmm.
project might take me a year. It might take me a couple months. I don't know, but I think my big project right now is I want to do a Crow documentary, and that's probably going to take a
Mm-hmm.
couple months. But because there isn't a Crow documentary covering all 5
That's
films, so
crazy.
yeah, so I think that's the next thing because I did one for Halloween, I did one for Scream. I almost wanted to die after I got done with each of those, but it is rewarding. So,
Yeah.
oh my god. So yeah, that's kind of my next big thing. But I'm still doing the new release. What's funny is I literally went to the theater tonight thinking I was going to see Heretic because I missed my
Mm-hmm.
press screening. And for some reason, I thought that it was tonight, but it's actually next week. So I got to the theater, I opened up my movie pass, and I'm like, fuck. So I turned around, drove right back home. So, yeah.
Damn.
But yeah, that's business as usual. That's pretty much my answer to that. What do you got coming up?
Oh gosh, what do I have coming up? Well, I'm gonna be dropping that Bride of Chucky review here shortly for Antonis. I don't do like when I first started the channel, I was like, oh, I'll do like thematic reviews and stuff like that, and I think I'll still keep that up. But one thing I realized the more and more I started doing or got into this was the pre-recorded vids. Like, maybe they're better served like not straight up doing reviews. I mean, there's so many great review channels out there. Like, I love all of you guys that do reviews, and I'm sort of like, yeah, I could say similar things, but I also want to, like you were saying, like talk about something you're passionate about. And it's like, I need to find my own kind of like little corner or way to approach things. And so I'm thinking about doing like, I'm really into Eli Roth's Thanksgiving. Like super pumped on that movie still. The best original slasher I've seen since Scream in 1996. Yeah. And I love that it harkens back to like the Prowler and My Bloody Valentine. It's got that revenge whodunit kind of vibe, but updated for the modern world. Tons of likable characters, all that stuff. So I'm thinking about doing like a deep dive, like kind of like a review, but just sort of like a video essay on that one. That will be my big November project. But yeah, I mean, really, I think of this show as sort of the flagship of the channel here. I think the little niche that I'm, carving out as far as giving a space for other content creators to come on here and have discussions, bringing on actors and writers and directors and stuff like that. Like, I just want to be, what sort of spot, is there a void, or is there some sort of space that I can help fill in for all of us great horror fans here on YouTube? Because I want to be able to stand out, and I think of myself as a relatively personable guy, so I like to get to know people. Yeah, sure. So yeah, that's sort of business as usual over here as well. And my ongoing thing is a Tales from the Crypt full series review. So nice. I'm doing like an episode like every other week is pretty much how I've been going on that one. So that's been really fun. I don't know if you're a fan of that show, but I've been doing some collab episodes. So if you want to collaborate on one that stands out to you, then feel free to hit me up. No obligation or anything like that. But yeah, that's what we got going on here.
I think somebody sent me the Tales from the Crypt box set. I haven't, because I haven't watched any of them yet. So yeah.
Did you ever watch them when they were? Did you watch them when they were on back in the day? Oh, no. They're really fun.
Were they on in the 90s?
Yeah, it was like 89, summer of 89 is when it started, and it ran for like 6 years or something like that. But I mean, the names on the producers list is crazy. It's like Richard Donner, Robert Zemeckis, Joel Silver. Jesus. It's like these big time names, and every now and then they step in and direct an episode. Like Robert Zemeckis directed the first episode. And and even they gave spaces for, like, I think Arnold directed an episode, and Tom Hanks and Michael J. Fox, and then a lot of the episodes, Christopher Reeve was in an episode like in the middle of its run. So it's really cool to see like budding stars and then full-fledged stars like come into that world. It's perfect. 25-minute episodes. Like they don't take themselves too seriously. There's blood, butts, and boobs and all that kind of fun stuff. It's a hell of a time. There it is. Yeah, man, this has been awesome. I do want to give another, let's see here. I saw Big Rod says, DRUMDUMS, thank you for your service. Yeah, Lee, I do want to acknowledge that. Yeah. Yeah, man, we'll never forget it. It's people like me couldn't do it without people like you in this country. So really appreciate that. Especially during such a tumultuous time as well. Yeah. To say the least. Not that we see, hopefully we can dig ourselves out of the tumult, but we'll see what happens.
It might take a while, but yeah, hopefully.
we like to put our nose in there and see what's going on. Brian, don't spoil the episode for Lee. No, don't read that, Lee. Really quick before you get going, though, I do want to close the poll. So 76 votes. Holy cow, you guys are amazing. Halloween 4 wins 55% of 76 votes. 20% for Friday the 13th part 7, and YouTube hates loading up the poll in my chat, so I think it's like 14% for everything else. Hell yeah, this has been such a fun time, Lee. Really appreciate your time. I hope you have a great November here, and awesome holidays coming up with the fam and everything.
You too, brother. Thank you so much for having me. This was a blast.
Absolutely, man. We'll talk soon. Take care.
Okay. Good night, everyone.
All right, everybody. That was, wow, amazing. Oh my gosh. Everything I wanted it to be and more. Lee is the man, as you can tell. Yeah, it's crazy. I think about all the when I was living in Portland and I was like really watching Lee a lot, like, you know, when I was really diving into all that stuff, I think of all, like, I lived in a few different places in Portland. So I have all these memories in these different apartments and houses. It's just part of living in Portland. You just end up having to move all over the damn place. So it's really cool to think back, you know, all the way, you know, 2014, 2015, something like that. And then, you know, to reflect on that, you know, while having the guy right here on the channel. It's pretty incredible. I wish that I didn't wait as long as I did to start my channel. That's my own damn fault. So I guess I will, you know, this is my pitch to anybody that's watching right now. If you're thinking about starting a channel and you're really passionate and you think you have something to say about what you love, whatever the topic is, whether it's music, you know, politics, video games, sports, movies, whatever the heck it is, you know, I highly recommend you, you know, think about taking that dive because it can be very rewarding. It's a lot of hard work, of course, but you can always take it at your own pace. Yeah, that's my little pitch, to just not wait because, like I joked about earlier, and it's the truth, you know, fear of failure was the thing that kept me from doing this. And look at how much fun we're having together. So it was just a bunch of wasted time in the end. But you guys are amazing. I'm really glad that Lee brought that up. You know, that you folks in the chat, it's just you guys, man, you fuel everything we do here, through the ups and the downs. You know, I tend to not bring like personal life kind of stuff in here whenever I can. But, you know, like I've, you know, had my own personal ups and downs. And, you know, the one thing that's been consistent is you guys. And so, you know, when I jump in here and have a live with you guys or sit in front of the computer and shoot a vid for you, you know, it's a way to just forget about everything else for a little bit. And, you know, like we were talking about earlier, it's a healthy escape. So I really appreciate every single one of you, the folks that are hanging out live in the chat right now, the folks that are watching after the fact, of course, all the Patreon members and the channel members and everybody, the subs, every single person, even if you're not subbed yet and you're like on the fence, I'm still pumped that you're here. But come on, hit the subscribe button. And yeah, guys, if you're watching after the fact, go ahead and drop a comment. Let me know and let Lee know what your favorite horror film from 1988 was, or maybe just even your favorite film from 1988. No big deal. And yeah, let us know your thoughts on the specific films. I swear I can talk. Specific films that we covered here today. Thank you guys so much. Really appreciate you, Allie. Yeah, I really appreciate you, Paula. Yeah, I love you guys as well. I mean, it's just it's a two-way road. It's not always easy, but it feels good to be driven with purpose. And you know, on the darker days, like you guys are one of the things that, you know, is driving that. So very, very appreciative. You guys are have become a big part of my life, and I love that. And yes, don't forget to spank that like, subscribe to the channel, join the Death Squad, and if you're catching this on the replay, leave a comment. Thank you so much, Jamie. And look at that. We had a relatively tame evening here. I'm very happy that we didn't have any trouble. I'm sure you guys know what I'm talking about. Yeah, tonight has been great. Again, links for Lee's channels and socials in the description below. So don't forget to check those out. Gosh, I'm trying to think of, you know, what else there is to cover tonight. I feel like we had such a great hang. I don't want to hang on too long and, you know, and spoil it, but we have 30 people watching right now, which is incredible. So what do you guys want to talk about? Are there any movies from 1988, you know, horror specific, preferably if you've got it, that you want to have a little chat about right now? Maybe something that Lee and I, you know, didn't cover here earlier tonight. Let me know. Tame, but my guard is up and will be for a while. That's a good way to be, Jamie. I appreciate it. And, you know, we'll just count our blessings when it works out well. You know what I mean? I love Lamp. You in a glass case of emotion, Necro? Love that. Late night on Fridays feels right, says Big Rod. I love that. I'm going to have to put up a poll because I don't want to just make that big shift and have it not work out for, you know, I want it to work for as many people as possible. And excuse me, had a little burp there. And I do know, like Jamie had brought up, very valid point. A lot of people go live on Fridays and a lot of the big guns go live on Fridays. So, you know, I always think of it like I'm really only competing with myself. But if I literally pit this show against, you know, somebody who has a much larger channel, I'd hate to see the show suffer because of that. But I do think that, you know, people would be able to stay a little bit later for the most part. And I might even be able to get, you know, some more guests to agree to it because it would be not on a school night. So I don't know. I'll have to put the poll out there. It'll be a really simple yes or no. And we'll let you decide. It'll be the most important vote that you'll, you know, put in until Tuesday. How about that? Antonis says, I finally saw Joker Folie à Deux. Have you seen it yet, Davey? No, I've not. I think I'm going to wait for streaming on that one. And when I say wait for streaming, I mean free streaming, not paying $14.99 or $19.99 to watch it at home. Raymond Malabar says, can we talk about Last Nightmare Part 1? Yeah, of course, man. What do you want to talk about with Last Nightmare Part 1? What did you think? Have you checked it out? You know, I thought about doing a review for it. I did do a review for It's Me, Billy, Chapter 1, you know, and I was a, you know, I purchased the perk for associate producer on that one. And I did back, you know, Last Nightmare Part 1 as well. I don't know. I'm slowly kind of backing away from like the review game. Just because, I mean, honestly, like it takes quite a bit of time and the views aren't there. So, I don't want to be like the views aren't everything to me. But when I put in a bunch of time and put something together, shooting it and editing it, and then, you know, just kind of, you know, flounders a little bit, then it just sort of, you know, I'm like, man, I guess I could have just gone live and did that review live, which maybe I can do from here on out. But yeah, we can talk Last Nightmare Part 1. Brutal version of Myers there, man. Myers is relentless in that movie. I think a lot of the performances were really good too. I do like Peter, is it Jurek? I think it's Peter Jurek plays John Strode. And I think he does a great job. He even looks like Josh Hartnett to me. I really enjoyed him. I'm trying to think of the actor who plays the main police officer in the film. I think he does a really good job. There are multiple actors in the film that have to cry on camera, and every time I thought that they did a good job with that. Now I think like with any other like fan film that you have out there and stuff, like you know, I feel like quality in acting can sort of like weave in and out of like, oh, that was like a really good line delivery. And then the next line delivery, maybe it's not as good as the previous one. I think that's just something that's like, you know, if you had more time and money, you'd be able to have more takes and be able to put everything together the way that you wanted. But I think, you know, considering, you know, the budget for the film and everything like that, and the fact that it is a fan film, that it's not for profit, I was very pleased, and I'm looking forward to part 2. And I went to the premiere event. Braden hosted an event out in, I think it was technically Mesa, which is basically, it was right next to ASU, the college here in Phoenix, technically in Tempe. And so we got to watch it in this big screening room. It was awesome. And I got to meet one of the actors in it. And, you know, we hung out during the screening, and then we, you know, went out afterwards to sort of celebrate and hang out. And it was pretty wild and really fun, and hell of a time kicking it with him. His name's Dan Schmidt. He plays one of the 3 guys that's just like hanging out in the house. They're just like sipping on beers. And I think they're watching Sally, one of Braden Timmons's previous films. And I believe it's an original project that he put together. And yeah, Dan is really, really good in the film. He's just got a handful of lines, but he has a great kill. He's an up and comer. He works as an airline mechanic, as a supervisory airline mechanic. That's his day job. And then he's gotten into acting within the last couple of years. And let's just say this. He may end up being able to be in Last Nightmare Part 2, but in a different capacity. And I'm really excited as to what that could mean. So you're going to want to follow Braden for all of that, as far as what happens with Part 2 and the directions that they go there. I'm not going to say anything to spoil anything, but I do have sources to bring up the, bragging about sources, but I'm not going to spoil it. All right, let's see here. Maniac Cop was a great movie from '88. I've yet to see Maniac Cop, Big Rod. I do got to check that one out though. Let's see here. Slugs is from '88. Oh, interesting. Dead Meat is kill counting it next week. Oh, I think I saw that here on the Wikipedia list. That's another movie from 1988 that I've never seen. Yeah. Never seen that one yet. Let's see here. Move late night to 9 on Wednesdays. Ooh, just a little bit earlier. I think we could do that. Yeah. 9 p.m. Eastern. I think that sounds good. Elvira and 976 Evil. Yeah, Elvira was one of the ones that Lee had mentioned. I've yet to see. You know what? I think I saw Elvira when Mistress of the Dark, right? When I was a little kid. I don't really remember it. I think it's what she has like a relative that passes away, and like she kind of moves to a town where are most of the people sort of regular, and she's the one oddball. So it's a little bit of that like Addams Family Munsters kind of thing too, where she like sticks out like a sore thumb. Fish out of water tale. And then 976 Evil, I remember that one existing. I don't think I've ever seen that one. I think that's got Robert Englund's in that movie, right? Aaron says, I couldn't believe how many YouTube channels went live last night on Halloween. I was like, what's going on? It was overwhelming, but ultimately a good problem to have. Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I didn't go live yesterday, is because I was like, man, the people that do go live, like people are trick-or-treating with their kids. They still have regular lives to lead. It's a Thursday night and all that kind of stuff. And also I was like, man, everyone that's going live is probably a way bigger channel than what I've got cooking here. So they're gonna take all that viewership. So just thought, you know what? Enjoy the day. October was fucking crazy for me this year. I learned a lot though. The biggest takeaway is shoot a bunch of videos in the summer and have them all lined up and ready to go for October. That way you can go live once or twice a week and you got a nice drip of pre-recorded material as well. Let's see here. What else do we got? The Death Squad will be here for you whenever Late Night with the Davey is, says Raymond Malabar. That is awesome. Thank you so much, Raymond. Yeah, I will put the poll out there. I will give you guys a few options. So I'll do Wednesday at 9, keep it like it is, or Friday at 9. How about that? So let's see if we can make the shift to 9. So it's still late night. It's just not as late night. Yeah, let's see. And then people are going to call me a total poser for not being late night anymore. Whatever. I don't have to impress you. No, I'm just I do have to impress you guys. Robert Englund directed 976 Evil. It's worth checking out. I think it's super underrated, says Jamie. All right. I will have to see if that's on one of the streaming platforms there. Aaron wants me to keep it as it is. All right. I'll put the poll up. I'll let you guys vote for that, and we'll see. I like, for all the reasons, for the reasons that you guys are saying, like, I think Wednesday is good because ain't nothing going on, at least in our horror sphere, unless something drops unexpectedly or, whatever. But routinely, there isn't something going on Wednesday night. So I like that we have that spot there, but I'm open to making adjustments if it's going to bring in a bigger audience and bring in more guests too. There you go. Jamie's a team player. Look at that. Paula wants it on Friday. Chester Franklin Jr. says, I voted for Halloween 4 because it's my third favorite in the franchise, bringing Michael back after H2. The opening is great. So much mood and atmosphere. The score by Alan Howarth was great. I agree with all of that, Chester. Yeah, I think Halloween 4, I know it probably sounds like I'm kind of down on it because it's in the middle of my ranking. I did a video with Barry from Wolfman's Got Nards where we asked the question, is it overrated? And I think within the Halloween fandom, maybe it is overrated a little bit because I think we forget about that terrible mask. But Halloween 4 has a lot of really good stuff working for it as well. I think it's a very worthy sequel. And yeah, that opening scene's great. And I do really like Alan Howarth's rendition of the soundtrack there. It's really, really good. What's happening, Frank from Frank's Media and Reviews? So great to see you, bud. What are you watching tonight? What physical media are you snuggling tonight? Let me know, guys. If you don't follow Frank's Media and Reviews and you are into physical media, you're going to want to go check out his channel. Consider giving him a sub as well. One of the mods, feel free to drop a link for Frank's channel in the chat if you'd like. That would be cool. Yeah, and I guess you know, anything else you guys want to talk about? Any other movies from 1988? Let me see if there were any others that I was itching to talk about that we didn't really get to. Ooh, how about Hobgoblins? Any Mystery Science Theater 3000 fans here? I would have never known about Hobgoblins without Mystery Science Theater 3000, and I'm guessing that's the case for most people because now I'm seeing Hobgoblins pop up like all over the place. But you know, at the time it was sort of like, you know, a ripoff of Gremlins, I guess, you know, ripoff of Gremlins, Ghoulies, whatever. I don't know exactly. You know, Ghoulies must have been out already by 88, right? I figure. So yeah, it's a Gremlins ripoff that's pretty silly, pretty bad movie there. Boom, Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Those Chiodos brothers and their wacky makeup effects that are so creepy. This movie really freaked me out. I saw it on HBO. You know, I was in like 3rd grade and it gave me nightmares. Absolutely. And then to watch it as an adult, you realize like, oh, this is just a love letter to all of those like Roger Corman B movies. This is like a drive-in movie. It's like your classic, kind of like The Blob, where it's, you know, a bunch of teens running away, you know, small town that gets attacked by something otherworldly. And teenagers, I guess are they teenagers, or I think they're in their early 20s trying to figure it out. And man, I mean, the practical effects are incredible. I think that there's a lot of tongue-in-cheekness when it comes to this movie. So I have an easy time enjoying it because I don't think that they're trying to make like a legit serious film. I think they are trying to be camp. And I think it works really well. I love the bright colors. Of course, the theme song by the Dickies. I'm a big punk rock guy, so it's really fun seeing punk rock represented in a classic horror film. And yeah, a movie that scared the hell out of me as a kid, and then now I watch it as an adult, and it's like so laughable and hilarious, but never lets me down, you know? Let's see here. Without spoiling both fan films, what's better? It's Me, Billy Chapter 2 or The Last Nightmare Part 1? I don't know. I don't know if I can answer that because It's Me, Billy Chapter 2 is the conclusion of a story. So I know the whole story of It's Me, Billy. And then with Last Nightmare Part 1, I haven't seen the second part. So it's the middle chapter, right? Because there was the Haddonfield Nightmare, Last Nightmare Part 1, and then we're going to get Last Nightmare Part 2. I don't know. It's so difficult to choose. And, you know, I supported both films. You know, I consider myself like, you know, a friend of Braden's. You know, we've gotten to hang out a few times. I've never hung out with Dave McCrae. I'd call him like an internet buddy. I think it's a bit much for me to be like, yeah, Dave McCrae is one of my friends. But we're definitely friendly, and I would hate to, you know, have to decide between two buddies' pieces of work. So I'll just say that I like them both a lot, and maybe I'll have a better idea, Antonis, once Last Nightmare Part 2 comes out, as far as like which legacy fan film was more satisfying for me ultimately. Hey, thank you so much, Frank. Really appreciate you, man. Really appreciate the $1.99 super chat. Woo! There it is. I got to get some cool like clips or some fun stuff to show. I know all the other channels do that when people give super chats. You guys are probably like, man, I just gave you money and all you do is say thank you. Well, I mean, it's not all I do. I'll sit here and talk about it for a little bit. Really appreciate the kind words there, Frank. to you as well, man. You are killing it on your channel. I say this all the time, but it's like, I wish I could have all of this great physical media, but it's awesome to watch other people sort of unveil it, just show it all off. I can still enjoy the movies in other capacities, and really enjoy, you getting to build upon that amazing collection that you have. And I'm really digging your live roundtables as well. I think that's a fun thing to work in the mix. I do think that, pre-recorded vids seem to do better, I think, for most people, but I think working in a little bit of live is a good idea as far as just like sort of, growing that audience, getting in some randoms, that's the way we've built the community here is, by doing that. And I waited a long time before I went live, but once I went live, I fell in love. Absolutely. Big Rod brings up Night of the Demons. I think I've got that one. Boom. There it is. One of the better Evil Dead sort of remakes, I guess I would call it. Yeah, I would consider it pretty much. It's pretty much Evil Dead. Like a little bit of a different setup, a little bit, of course. But once the shit hits the fan, sorry about my wishly teeth. Once the shit hits the fan, it did it again. It feels a lot like Evil Dead. But I do think Night of the Demons is really fun. Classic late 80s movie, tons of nudity, ridiculous gore effects. Linnea Quigley just can't keep her clothes on, tops or bottoms. Sometimes I wonder, did she just show up to set naked and then they just like put an outfit on her, or didn't? But yeah, Night of the Demons is really fun. I haven't seen it in a really long time. Foz and I covered Night of the Demons 2 on Movie Punks. It was our first episode. So I just saw that one. I watched it like two times within a week or something like that. That was back in April, I believe. I really enjoyed that one. I think I might like the sequel a little bit more. But yeah, Night of the Demons is good fun, Big Rod. Boom, there it is. Frank's Media and Reviews. You can go check him out there. Please, at the very least, go watch a few videos and see if it's up your alley, and throw a sub if it is. And whoa, $5 super chat from Necro Mechanimal says The Vanishing, aka Spoorloos, is the best movie of 1988. And you know what? Why is that not showing up on this list? I feel like that's terrible, but it is the original version, right? Necro, I think, because wasn't this made? Is it an Eastern European movie? Let's see here. I'm gonna look it up right now. Don't mind my clickety clackety. Yeah. Oh, The Vanishing. Oh, okay. Oh, it's Dutch. There you go. Yeah, that's so weird that it's not on this list. Yeah, it means traceless or without a trace. That's what the Spoorloos means. Okay, adapted from the novella The Golden Egg by Tim Crabb. Okay, I'll have to check this one out. Necro, I have never seen The Vanishing. I know, it's terrible. I have all these blind spots. Got to watch 976 Evil. Got to watch The Vanishing. It sounds like I need to revisit Night of the Demons and Elvira, Mistress of the Dark. But yeah, thank you so much for the $5, Necro, and thank you so much for putting together the thumbnails for Davey Science Theater 3000, and of course the Evil Dead ranking video. Necro put together the thumbnail for that one as well, and not only the thumbnails for Davey Science Theater 3000, but the backgrounds and all that kind of stuff. Really cool work. I do encourage you guys to go give Necro a follow over on Insta at the very least. And man, I got to check out The Vanishing. Absolutely. Oh, you're speaking Jamie Hart's language there, Frank. Silent Hill 2. I never played any of those Silent Hill games, but I gotta check them out for sure. I just spend so much time playing Resident Evil 4 and all of the old school Castlevania games over and over and over. I'm a creature of habit. What can I say? Yeah, the Killer Clowns theme song is great. Yeah, really, really fun. I really like a lot of the Beastie Boys stuff. Yeah, I grew up listening to like the early Blink stuff, but I think Take Off Your Pants and Jacket's the last record that I found any enjoyment from. Once they, when they did the self-titled record, I fell off with Blink. I listened to their latest record as well. I didn't think it was very good. It was a really odd mix. To me, the record didn't sound like, the instruments didn't sound very cohesive. And the songs, I'm just sort of like, you know, you guys are 50 now. Maybe sing about something different. I don't know. See here, Aaron says, I've gone crazy on 4Ks lately, so much that I don't have time to watch what I've purchased. It's tough to catch up. You know, Eli sent me all these great, you know, steelbooks and Blu-rays and DVDs and everything, and I'm having a tough time keeping up with those as well. Nice, Raymond. That's awesome. Braden liked your reviews on Letterboxd of Haddonfield and Last Nightmare. That's really cool, man. Love Night of the Demons, but lately I prefer the remake. All right. I need to check that one out. I've never seen the Night of the Demons remake, but I have heard really good things about it from people that enjoy that franchise. Little Monica Keena and Edward Furlong. Edward? Yeah, Edward. Raymond likes Night of the Demons remake more as well. Lair of the White Worm, 1998. I think so, but I've never heard of that movie, so I just sort of skipped over it. Yep, Lair of the White Worm, directed by Ken Russell. Hugh Grant is in that movie. I've never heard of that. Yeah, there's a handful in here that I've never heard of, like Killing Birds, but Joe D'Amato, that name looks familiar. Did Joe D'Amato do like Maniac or something like that? That name is so familiar to me. But yeah, there's a lot of movies on this list that I just have never seen, unfortunately. Silent Hill 2 is scaring the pee out of me. Davey, I can't remember if you've seen We Are Still Here. If not, come on, Barbara Crampton, get on that. I love We Are Still Here. In fact, when I met Barbara Crampton last December and I got her to sign a picture for me, and I, you know, pulled a Cody Snyder and got a little too close during our picture. She was cool about it, though. Yeah, I had her sign a picture from We Are Still Here where she's holding like all the knives in front of her face. I love We Are Still Here. You guys know that I really enjoy slow burn haunted house type movies, and We Are Still Here perfectly fits that. Like, it's right up there with, like, you know, I don't know if I'd say it's as good as The Changeling, but it's in that like wheelhouse of genre and really damn good. I mean, the first time I watched We Are Still Here, I was on a plane by myself. It freaked the hell out of me. Like, that movie, the jump scares are so well earned. And oh man, it had me looking over my shoulder on the plane. And I've watched it a few times since then. Really, really dig it. Yeah. And Barbara Crampton, say no more, right? What's happening, Chris? How you doing? Chris from Movie Misfits Video. Can't wait to see you really get back up and running over there, Chris. I know you had a couple streams there. I think I missed the one on Saturday night. I was doing a little DST3K over here watching White Zombie. Whew, man, that was a rough one to get through. But yeah, you did the stream of all the like Halloween commercials and everything like that. I saw you did it was like a Ronald McDonald, like the Halloween themed McDonald story thing that you and Dane did as well. So fun stuff, man. Yeah, guys, if you don't sub over at Chris's channel, you gotta go check out Movie Misfits Video. Do it now. There you go. Yeah, I think Night of the Demons 2, pretty awesome. Brian Trenchard Smith, the director, is the same guy that directed Leprechaun 3, the one in Vegas, and they're both so fun. Like, those movies are so much fun. About to watch the last episode of Teacup Season 1. Not sure how it's all going to wrap up in this one episode with everything still going on. Oh, I recommend it, but recommend the show from even more. Yeah, Teacup looked interesting. I guess they want that second season, right? So they maybe want to tie up like one loose end and leave a couple other threads. I haven't seen any of it, but I saw the trailer and it does look interesting. Oh, that's really cool, Jamie. We Are Still Here was filmed fairly close to me, a few hours away. Hell yeah. Lair of the White Worm is pretty good. Hugh Grant was really young. I didn't realize it was him at first. Yeah, kind of blows my mind. It's like right before Easter this year, Darren and Frank from the Slaughtered Lamb. I'm pretty sure it was just Darren because I don't think Frank's too hot on the movie. But Darren did a video like retrospective on The Long Good Friday with Bob Hoskins, and it's got a really young Pierce Brosnan in it. And I think it came out in like 1980, and it's great. Like, it's wild because I was so young that I never saw him on Remington Steele. Like, I wasn't watching that kind of television in the 80s. So I never, like, the first time I saw Pierce was like Mrs. Doubtfire. I'm pretty sure it was the first time I ever saw him in a movie that I can remember. And that must have been 92, 93, something like that. I don't know. But yeah, so seeing him from 1980 in this movie, I'm like, oh my gosh, he's just a baby. Yeah, let's see. What else do we have here that we didn't talk about? Waxwork, which I just watched today for the very first time. Kind of fun, not great, entertaining enough. I don't know. I might not ever watch it again, or maybe I'll watch it again for, like a stream or something like that. I didn't think it was bad. Zach Galligan, though, I don't think he works so well in Gremlins, and I even like him in Gremlins 2, the new batch. But seeing him here, I don't think he's very good at acting. It might have just been, maybe it's the script for Gremlins gave him a little bit more to work with. Here, he doesn't have much to work with. He plays this rich kid that I don't really know. I guess that's the problem with Waxwork, is I don't know anything about these characters. They really just like jump in and we don't get to know the characters before the antics start. But I mean, it was definitely, I'm glad that I watched it. I'll say that. We got The Serpent and the Rainbow, a great Wes Craven flick with Bill Pullman about, real life voodoo zombies, the somnambulants or whatever they call it down there. I've only seen this movie once, but I really enjoyed it. And it was cool to see Wes do something that's horror, but not, blood and guts horror, more of that like spooky, I guess not supernatural, like real life, like religious supernatural, and not so much Freddy supernatural. Return of the Living Dead Part 2. That's a movie I don't revisit very often because it feels so similar to the first movie to me, and I prefer the first movie so much more. Monkey Shines. This is a movie I've never seen. I think this one was directed by George Romero? Yes. See, I gotta watch this one because George is my favorite director of all time, but I haven't seen all of his movies. I know it's a shame to say he's my favorite director and I haven't seen all of his movies. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I gotta check out Monkey Shines. Oh, let's see. That pretty much covers everything we've got here. Yeah, let's see what else you guys are saying. I've heard he's really good in it, Paula. I heard the movie's not very good, though. Of course, Frank, you got it, man. Yeah, YouTube is wild, and there you are, man. Less than 50 away from 2,000 subscribers. That is amazing, man. You've been doing this for what? Not even a year yet? Did you start in like January or something like that? You are popping off, man. Love seeing that. Really love seeing that. There you go. Deadhead bringing up Monkey Shines. Welcome to the chat, Deadhead777. So great to see you. Everybody make Deadhead feel welcome here. You are kicking it with the Death Squad. And if you want to check out the discussion portion of the live, go ahead and scrub it on back. We had Lee from DRUMDUMS on here. It was amazing. We talked about all sorts of movies from 1988. Monkey Shines didn't make the cut during this discussion because we got so into everything else. But perhaps we can save it for a part 2. Pat, that Halloween movie collector, says They Live is one of the best of 1988. That's a really good one, too. More sci-fi than horror, but a damn good 1988 film for sure. Good, but not what you'd expect. Okay. Yeah, it's something like the guy becomes like a paraplegic because of an accident, and then he has a monkey that takes care of him, or is like his sidekick that's supposed to help him get things, and the monkey starts killing people that, treat this guy poorly. Something like that, right? Kind of reminds me of like a Stephen King story, or is it part of the Skeleton Crew Stephen King book? And it also has that like Tales from the Crypt kind of vibe, or like a horror anthology, Ghoulies 2 is a fun movie, plus the 4K transfer from MBD is phenomenal. Hell yeah, Frank. I have never seen any Ghoulies movie. Never. I saw the VHS tapes in the aisle when I was a kid at the movie store, and the covers freaked me out, and I've never ended up watching any of those. Absolutely. Jamie will be doing a live stream this week so that I can thank Darren and Frank for the Hitcher set. That's really cool. They sent over. Did you win that in like a, was that part of like the Halloween trivia, or was there a like a members giveaway or something like that, Jamie? How did that come about? Yeah, I mean, let me know whenever you have a link. I will hit that notification and I'll be there, you know, showing you all the love. Absolutely. All right, guys, let's see here. We are at 2.5 hours. I think that's a good place to cap it here. We still have 27 people watching. That is incredible. You guys are amazing. You fuel what we do here at the channel. I love you guys so much for hanging out with me. Not just the folks that are hanging out live right now, but everyone that's watching after the fact. You guys are incredible as well. You're keeping the stream alive, so we really appreciate that. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and leave a comment. Let me know your favorite horror movie of 1988. Chime in on some of the movies that we talked about here as well. I want to thank all of my Death Squad mods. I believe here tonight we had Cody Snyder, Jamie Hart, and Eli Cortez. Really appreciate you guys holding down the fort, especially Jamie, who is putting in the overtime here. Of course, Patreon members, channel members, you guys are extra awesome. All of the subs are really cool too. Real quick before I forget, because I did kind of, Pat, that Halloween movie collector, go ahead and check him out as well. I know I spend half of the time shouting out other people, but we got to lift each other up. It's a community. And so, you know, people are doing fun stuff out there and they're talking horror. We got to lift each other up. Go check out Pat's channel. See if his content is something that's up your alley. And if it is, do not hesitate to hit that subscribe button and help him build his community as well. Boom, they put your name on the wheel and it landed on you. That's amazing. That is so cool. Way too awesome, Jamie. That Hitcher set looks beautiful. And it's a movie that really, really needed that upgrade. So that's pretty awesome to have a copy of that. I've only seen the Hitcher once, and it was a terrible transfer that I watched on like Max. And it was, I think it was in February. So I've been really looking forward to being able to watch this, you know, this cleaned up version. So I'll have to either get a copy or maybe somebody, maybe my name can land on someone's wheel here, you know, at some point. Really appreciate that, Raymond. You are awesome, man. Thank you so much for being a channel member. And of course, Jamie Hart saw the Hitcher in the theater. Yeah, why wouldn't you have? And, you know, welcome to the 15 new channel members here. I know I got to put something together for you guys. I'm thinking about doing a live with y'all here probably on Sunday. We can do a watch party of Tales from the Crypt, Lover Come Hack to Me. And then we can just sort of kick it after that and do a little Q&A, you know, a little intimate hangout. But yeah, you guys have been absolutely incredible. Really appreciate each and every one of you. I hope you have an excellent weekend. I'm going to get that poll going as far as, you know, if we should switch things up with Late Night with the Davey. And then, of course, I will make that announcement for the members only stream this weekend as well. So yeah, guys, until next time, I've been and will continue being Davey Deathray. Take care.